boy was trapped in another world. His name was Chan Seok. There, he became the strongest, an absolute genius, capable of destroying any monster. After years of fighting, he finally returned to Earth. But there was a problem. Earth had also been invaded. Now, the world he left behind is on the brink of extinction, and the only one who can stop it is him. 20 years have passed, and he declares that today he will defeat the monster to save the world. Just then, a powerful attack hits its target dead on, causing a massive explosion. Amidst the smoke, a dark silhouette reveals itself on the battlefield. Seeing that he withstood the blow, the monster says he is worthy of the title of hero, but it warns that his companions can barely stand on their own. Responding to the taunt, the hero says the monster doesn't look so good either. Furious at the insolence, the monster readies an attack with its hand. Unfazed, the hero turns and prepares his weapon for a counterattack. Then, the two charge forward and clash with a brutally violent impact. In the background, the group's mage struggles to keep a protective barrier active. Right after, it unleashes a powerful attack, declaring that this land is its kingdom. Despite being hit, the hero stands firm against the enemy's powerful onslaught. Just then, the monster's attack seems to intensify even more against the hero. With both hands, he grips his weapon tighter, bracing himself. Determined to end the fight, he declares he'll finish it all right there. Immediately after, a massive explosion erupts on the battlefield. Hit head-on, he takes the full impact of the attack. Then, everything is engulfed in an intensely bright, blinding light. Using his special technique, he manages to hold his ground amidst the chaos. Even so, the force of the impact violently throws him back. Landing firmly, he digs his feet into the ground to keep from falling. At that moment, a beam of energy shoots across the battlefield at high speed. With determined gazes, the two continue to face each other during the clash. From the force of the impact, the ground around them begins to shatter. Struck by several projectiles, the monster retreats from the damage. Wasting no time, the creature readies its claw for a direct attack. Charging forward, the creature lands a vicious blow on the hero. To avoid being dragged, he uses his weapon to brace himself on the ground. Laughing at the situation, the monster says such a weak attack won't even scratch it. Questioning the remark, he asks if the monster really thought the attack was weak. Pointing his weapon, he unleashes a powerful technique toward the enemy. He then warns that his strike is more than enough to cut through its arrogance. Hit directly, the creature's body begins to burn intensely. At that, a piece of the monster's body breaks off and falls to the ground. With a severe wound in its chest, the monster continues to be consumed by the ability. Surprised, it says it never imagined a human could face it like this. Responding calmly, the hero reveals he is not actually from this world. Calling it absurd, the monster claims one day it will be absorbed by the earth. Suddenly, the creature falls silent, realizing something is wrong. Asking if it's having trouble, the hero points out that it can't regenerate. He explains that the black flame is his ability, and it uses concepts as fuel. Revealing the secret, he says what's burning is the monster's very existence. Realizing its end is near, the monster says he will never be remembered as the hero, because the people he calls companions are just there waiting for him to die. Confirming the betrayal, he says he already knew, leaving the monster completely shocked. Desperate, the priestess begs him not to believe a monster's words. Revealing the plan, he says she actually despised him for being an outsider, all so he would hesitate to attack her after the subjugation was over. Turning to her, he asks directly if he happens to be wrong. Falling silent, she can't answer, confirming the entire accusation. Looking to the side, he states that the other two are exactly the same. He reveals the knight received a treasure from the emperor to eliminate him, and the mage hates him simply because he opposed the slavery system. To sum it up, he says he's known for 5 years that they would kill him. Confused, the monster says that with his power, he could have destroyed the world. Gazing at the horizon, he reveals he only didn't do it because he wanted to go home. Surprised by the answer, the monster asks if he really wanted to go home. In a 20-year flashback, he was an ordinary worker before being summoned, but he explains that the world he was sent to was a disaster in itself. He explains that to return, there was only one way: defeat the monsters. In a village in the past, 2 guards stop him, telling him he can't come in. Carrying a child, he says he rescued her and asked to be let inside, but the guards say he should have left the child there to die. Remembering another problem, he frequently saw people screaming in pain. Medicine was so bad that a doctor orders a man to be held down for an amputation. He discovered they would amputate limbs for simple infections, as no healers were available. Suddenly, someone approaches and calls him by his title of hero. At the local church, a cleric asks how he managed to rescue that child. Then a nun reveals they will exorcise the demon from the child themselves. Telling him not to go against the gods, they ask him to abandon his pity. After enduring everything for 20 years, he finally defeated the monster. Returning to the present, he finally declares that the long battle is over. At that, his companion says that since he knows everything, they can't let him live. Turning his face away, he says he actually hates that world with all his might. Expressing his frustration, the knight prepares for what's to come. Seeing the hero is still standing, he says they've created a monster. Catching his breath, the hero prepares to speak with the divine entity. Shouting with all his might, he demands that the promise finally be fulfilled. At this, the three companions look up, seeing an intense light descend from the sky. Immediately after, a powerful beam of light strikes the ground violently. Appearing in the light, the goddess congratulates him for defeating the great monster. Pointing to the sky, he reminds her of the promise to preserve his soul. He then adds that she promised to send him back to Earth. Questioning his choice, she says his achievements as a hero will be nullified. With a faint smile on his face, he prepares to give his answer. Telling her to stop the theatrics, he just wants her to keep her promise. Asking one last question, she wants to know if he won't regret this. He states that his only wish is to return to the world he once knew. Dropping his weapon to the ground, he affirms that's all that matters. Agreeing to his request, the goddess says his will shall be done. Looking at his hand, he says that cursed world is finally behind him. As he's enveloped by light, the goddess warns him that his original body no longer exists. She then explains she will place his soul in a body fated for a bad end. Ignoring the warning, he states that just returning to Earth is enough. Believing it will be better, he accepts his fate and a transition begins. Waking up in a room, he stands up and wonders if he's finally back. Now in a civilian's body, he clenches his fist, remembering those damned traitors. Relieved he won't have to see them, he suddenly notices a mirror in the room. Touching the reflection, he says that from now on, this young man will be him. On his knees, he confirms that he has finally made it back to Earth. Going to the bathroom, he splashes clean water on his face and marvels at the magic of it. Then he turns on the stove, happy to no longer need firewood and campfires. Finding a box, he opens it with a smile and says he missed this. Looking at the contents, he asks in shock if this is really fried chicken. Holding the piece of chicken, he gets ready to finally take a bite. Then he sits on the floor and starts to eat the meal eagerly. With a piece in his hand, he says the taste is so good it makes him cry. Letting the tears fall, he says he missed all of this so much. Looking out the window, he says he can finally live a normal life. Stunned by the date, he realizes time has passed the same way in both worlds. He then states that adjusting won't be any more horrible than the other world. He turns on the shower and water starts pouring down hard inside the stall. Enjoying the hot water, he finally gets to truly relax for the first time. After his shower, he turns on the room's air conditioner with a single button press. Looking out at the city, he says this is very different from that other world. Thinking about what to do, he remembers a monster he faced in the past. Startled by the memory, he screams and falls to the floor in sudden shock. Just then, an announcement for the residents begins to play throughout the building. Being warned about a rift, he wonders what that could be. Soon after, the announcement asks everyone to evacuate to the underground shelter. With a serious look, he analyzes the new and unexpected dangerous situation. Arriving at the location, he finds several masked creatures waiting for them. Suddenly, the claw of one of the monsters shatters the glass door. Seeing the shelter entrance, he prepares to run down the stairs. Running with the others, he tries to escape the creatures that have invaded the place. Without looking back, he keeps going down as fast as he can. Not understanding anything, he wonders what the hell is happening on Earth. Meanwhile, the creatures continue down the stairs, chasing the building's residents. Spotting a nearby window, he jumps through it to escape the chase. Hiding behind a wall, he says with relief that he finally managed to lose them. Then, he's surprised to see a little boy running alone down the dark hallway. Trying to help, he warns him that it's dangerous, but the boy asks about the monster. With a bat in hand, the boy says he's going to kill the monster and invites him along. Totally shocked by the proposal, he asks what the boy just said. Ending up following the boy, he discovers that Earth has been like this for 15 years. Trying to understand the situation, he asks the boy to explain everything one more time. The boy then says that the rifts are portals from which the monsters come out. With an expression of pure fury, he laments returning to a hell. When questioned, he makes up the excuse that he lived in the United States for a while. The boy then starts talking about the president, leaving him even more confused. Changing the subject, the boy excitedly shouts the name of his favorite hunter. Explaining about the hunter, the boy says she is dealing with a rift. Not understanding how that's possible, he wonders how a normal human can fight. Commenting on the heroine, he says he especially likes her big sword. At that moment, the boy tries to show him a video, but he covers the boy's mouth. Seeing the boy's confusion, he holds him still to ensure total silence. With a focused gaze, he realizes there are 6 enemies nearby, not 5. Feeling that his body is strong, he prepares to fight against several enemies, but he still needs to decide what to do with the boy, who looks scared. Suddenly, he feels an energy in the air and realizes that it's mana. Confirming it's the same as in the other world, he understands he might have a chance. Then, an approaching monster is hit by a small attack on the head. The impact destroys the creature, surprising the other monsters around. With mana in the air, he understands he can fight even without his reserves. This means he can still use his special ability engraved in his soul. Using his flame, he destroys another monster, and the boy shouts that it was amazing. Glad that he's okay, he hears the boy talk about his unique ability. Remembering a video, the boy runs to confirm the kill, but he shouts for him to wait. Aware of the danger, he realizes that the flames of Paradox haven't gone out yet. He then yells that the flames don't go out until the target is completely dead. Just then, the monster's remains attack and hit the boy who was on the ground. The impact of the attack leaves the boy's face wounded on the cheek. Grabbing the remains with his hand, he says he doesn't know what YouTube is. Still holding the monster, he tells the boy he should stop watching that stuff. Looking at the boy, he asks to borrow the bat he's holding. Even without quite understanding, the boy hands the weapon to the man in front of him. Seeing an opening, the other creatures charge forward to attack them both at once. With the weapon in hand, his gaze becomes completely focused on the approaching enemies. Spinning his body, he delivers a circular strike with the bat against the monsters. Using the bat, he hits all the enemies at the same time with one attack. On the floor, the boy is impressed, watching everything with a look of amazement. Impressed by the fight, the boy asks if he's a secret hunter. He then gets frustrated for having gone through one hell only to find another. Seeing that Earth is no different, he joins the other survivors there. Suddenly, the shelter door opens and more people enter the place. Walking with the boy, he jokes that times have really changed around here. Just then, 2 people appear in the crowd and shout the boy's name. Thanking him for bringing him back, the mother hugs him and says he's so reckless. From their designer clothes, he realizes the boy was actually from a wealthy family. Feeling a tremor, he looks up and realizes something is very wrong. Suddenly, a giant fist smashes through the shelter's ceiling with extreme violence. With the violent impact, the wall collapses on the people who were there. Through the hole, a huge monster emerges and lets out a terrifying roar in their direction. Seeing the shelter wall collapse, people panic and start to run. As everyone runs, the boy warns that this time they need to flee too. Lowering his head, he laments that he wasn't asking for much in his life. He laments, saying he just wanted to return to the world he missed so much. Looking at his wounded hand, he wonders if he was asking for too much. Turning to the boy, he calls him a brat, but the boy complains about the nickname. He then asks why a rich kid wants to fight instead of living safely. With a serious look, the boy reveals that he lost his father to a monster. He explains that a rift even appeared in the bunker that was considered safe. Because of that, the boy says he's going to become the strongest hunter of all. Shouting his great goal, he declares with conviction that he will save the world. Giving a smile, he says the boy will surely become a great hunter, but he warns that the boy won't be the one to save the world. Seeing his mother trying to go, the boy says that the man is still in danger. Ignoring the protest, the mother starts dragging the boy away from the chaos. Being taken by force, the boy shouts for him as he's pulled away. Looking back, the boy continues to watch the scene as he moves away from him. He then announces that the one who will save the world will actually be him. Hearing the words, the boy processes the phrase about saving the world again. With a smile, he states that saving the world is a job for someone who's already done it. After fighting for 20 years, he returned to Earth with no time to enjoy it. Using his experience, he survived and even promised the boy he would save the world. But some time passed, and he ended up doing absolutely nothing since then. Seeing the victory screen, he realizes he's won another game match. Celebrating the result, he says it was too easy and drinks some soda. Then, he cracks open another can to continue his gaming marathon. Despite his promise, his desire to save the world didn't last long. With plenty of games and food, he got used to the comfortable life on Earth. Grabbing his phone, he decides it might be a good time to order delivery. Looking at the app, he's shocked to see he's already spent his entire severance pay. With no money, he explains he's already tried to find a new job, but with no success. With the rifts appearing, most companies were going bankrupt and shutting down. He then realizes he needs a job to survive in modern society. Looking at his phone, he finds an ad for recruiting new hunters. Having experience in the field, he decides to go to the local Hunters Association. Walking through the lobby, people are excitedly talking about becoming professional hunters. Then, a man says the test has become just a formality these days. Looking at the crowd, he states they're all the same, a bunch of amateurs. Suddenly, A huntress arrives, sparking whispers about whether they'll become famous. Learning of her presence, one of the candidates goes into complete shock. With a shout, he reveals to everyone that the famous hunter is there. Seeing the woman sitting down, everyone is stunned to see the world's 10th-ranked hunter. The candidates wonder if the Janabi Guild sent her to recruit someone. Then, they find out her target is a graduate from the Hunter Academy. Being corrected, the man says she's a candidate, not a power generator. Unconvinced, one of the men questions if she'll actually be useful in practice. Explaining his theory, he yells that hunting in rifts is real combat. Another man agrees, saying many who excel at the academy don't survive. He then concludes that practice and real combat are two completely different things. Thanking them for their patience, the announcer signals the start of the first test match. With a smile, she says they need to prove their worth to her. Looking at the file, the announcer comments that one of the candidates is quite interesting. He then notices the candidate is a civilian, not even from the academy. Since it's unprecedented, the announcer is surprised by the unusual situation. He then wonders at the man's courage for being there. Announcing the candidate, he is called by a name he still hasn't gotten used to. As the two face off, the match rules are finally announced to everyone. Having decided to become a hunter, he resolves to save this world. His opponent, however, finds the whole situation unbelievable and scoffs. To reach his goal, he first needs to get good results in the tournament. With a gesture, the announcer sends the two candidates to their starting positions. As soon as the fight begins, his rival advances using a fire technique. Unfazed by the attack, he just stares down his opponent seriously. With a confident smirk, the rival boasts about being the academy's undefeated spearman. Keeping calm, he carefully watches his opponent's charge approach. Taking a step forward, he moves towards the academy's spearman. When the rival attacks, he dodges, and the spear hits nothing but air. Not understanding what happened, the spearman looks for his vanished opponent. Appearing behind him, he comments that the guy is quite clumsy with a spear. Then, he lands a hard blow to the stomach, making his opponent double over. Right after, he sweeps his leg and knocks the spearman to the ground. With a quick and precise punch, he strikes his opponent's face squarely. Knocked out, the guy falls to the ground, completely unconscious from the blow. Seeing the fight is over, he says he used his hands to avoid seriously injuring him. With a smile, he comments that the average level of hunters seems pretty low. Surprised by his performance, the huntress wonders who this mysterious candidate is. Informed about his past, the assistant says he has almost no mana. Not understanding the situation, the man assumes the result was just luck. Then, she offers her assistant a piece of candy, which shuts him up. Eating the candy, she states that he actually doesn't accumulate mana on purpose. To prove his skills, he decides he needs to end the fight decisively. Approaching his rival, he walks calmly as the other man gets up from the ground. Preparing to strike, he says it won't be a fatal wound. Startled, the spearman can't react in time to defend against the blow. With a chop to the back of the neck, he knocks out his rival, who falls to the ground again. At that, an alarm sounds, and he's announced as the match's winner. Watching intently, the huntress seems to analyze his every move in the arena. Meanwhile, the other recruiters talk excitedly about what they just saw. Wanting to see his real skills, she stands up and decides to make her move. When questioned, she reveals she needs to see the association's president now. Winning another fight, he complains that the rookies are too weak for him. He then wonders what the hell they teach at that so-called Hunter Academy. Even with a sword, he beats his opponent with just a single, well-aimed kick. Without breaking a sweat, he wonders if there isn't a single decent opponent in this place. Noticing something to his side, he turns and senses a new presence in the arena. In the audience, one of the men comments that she's beautiful and that he'll finally get to see. Announced for the grand final, the candidate enters the combat arena. He then remarks that, at least she looks like a real opponent. He continues, saying she was the one who gathered the most mana out of everyone there. Warning him that his luck has run out, she says he has nothing. She then deduces that because he fights with his fists, he has no unique skill, but she warns him that doesn't mean she'll go easy on him. Responding to the taunt, he says he does have a skill, but he won't use it. With a sigh, she readies herself for the start of the combat in the arena. As soon as the fight begins, she charges forward with her sword at high speed. Gripping the hilt tightly, she channels energy into her sword's blade. In response, he braces for the charge coming his way. Launching her attack, she fires a blast of energy straight at him. With the unexpected result, she is completely surprised by what happens. He ends up on the ground, while she remains standing in the arena. Shocked, she wonders how he dodged a lightning bolt just by jumping. Finding it interesting, he analyzes her technique and understands how the skill works. Getting up, he says her skills are the best so far. He then points out that she focused too much on attacking quickly. To accelerate her sword, She created a magnetic rail in the air in front of her. With a smile, he says no one would fall for such an obvious attack. Angered by the taunt, she prepares to attack with all her strength. Charging forward, she yells she can beat him even without using her special technique. Dodging the attacks, he asks if she's an idiot for continuing to attack. With her hands, she begins to gather a large amount of electrical energy. Then, she releases all the power at once, creating a huge explosion. Even as he's hit, he realizes she's forcing herself to gather mana. He then understands that if she keeps this up, her body will end up destroying itself. Saying it was fun, he asks them to stop right there, surprising her. With a smile, he warns her that if it hurts, she should just raise her hand. Coming up from behind, he lands a powerful blow directly on her back. From the impact, she feels intense pain and can barely react. Without giving her time to recover, he readies his fist for the next attack. Then, he starts a sequence of rapid strikes, hitting her several times in a row. Moving his arm with speed, he unleashes another punch with all his might. Striking her squarely in the stomach, he finishes the combo with a decisive blow. With her eyes rolled back, she's left completely unconscious after taking the final hit. Unable to stay on her feet, she finally falls to the arena floor, defeated. In the audience, the recruiters are shocked to see the top student defeated. Stepping away, he concludes she focused only on mana and neglected her physical training. Turning his head, he's surprised to see she might not have given up yet. Lying on the ground, she raises her left hand as the announcer examines her. Remembering his warning, he realizes she actually raised her hand just as he asked. With the fight over, the medical team finally enters the arena to help her. Over the communicator, the announcer receives some information and asks in surprise what happened. With a surprise announcement, the announcer informs everyone that the tournament schedule has changed. Being told he needs to take a break, he doesn't understand the reason for the change. Then the announcer reveals he will have a special match with a huntress. Sitting in the audience, the assistant comments that, in the end, she got what she wanted. Seeing the crowd's reaction, he deduces his opponent is a skilled hunter. He then wonders if she organized the match herself to test his skills. With her blade on the ground, a voice asks if his name is Yu Chan-seok. Apologizing, the huntress says there was no other way to confirm his abilities. Introducing herself, she reveals she is Lee Se-yoon from the famous Janabi Guild. With a smile, she says the stage seems to have been too small for him. He then remembers she is the 10th strongest hunter in the world. Seeing her stance, he understands it would be a tough fight even with a spear. With a confident smile on his face, he prepares to answer the challenge. Without hesitation, he says they can fight right now, surprising the announcer. She then asks if he's excited, as she thinks she'll be able to see. He thinks that if he has to fight, he might as well aim for the best. For him, she is the perfect opponent to reach his great goal. Grabbing one of the weapons, he wonders if he should raise his value. In the audience, everyone is completely shocked by the sudden start of the special match. With her sword in hand, she lunges forward and delivers an extremely powerful blow. Trying to defend himself, he blocks the attack with his makeshift weapon in the arena. From the force of the impact, he can barely hold his ground against the strike. Pushing hard, she manages to break through his defense with a direct hit. Right after, she hits him with a kick, sending him flying across the arena. Watching the pace of the fight, she notices his speed has slowed down considerably. Panting, he can barely stay on his feet after the series of attacks. Asking if he's tired already, she says she didn't expect him to last this long. Taking another step forward, she prepares to end the fight right there. Warning him she'll make it easy, she moves in with her sword for the final blow. Gripping his weapon tighter, he braces for a desperate counterattack. With no mana reserves left, he takes a deep breath, ready to play his last card. Not wanting to use his trump card, he realizes he has no other choice now. With a focused gaze, he finally decides to use his skill, the Paradox Flame. Surprised by the change, she watches closely to see what's happening in the arena. With a swift move, he manages to dodge her attack at the last second. Not understanding the dodge, she says he shouldn't have been able to avoid that. Seeing the smoke around him, she wonders what that strange ability is. Revealing the name of the technique, he confidently calls it the Paradox Flame. He then explains that this is the specialty he used most before returning. Showing his intact clothes, he says the black flame doesn't burn matter. He continues, saying that it uses abstract concepts as fuel to burn. Deciding what to burn, he rushes towards her at great speed. Just then, she realizes he's suddenly much faster than before. Leaping into the air to attack, he yells that the concept to be burned is fatigue. Completely shocked by the change, she wonders how he recovered so quickly. Immediately after, the two clash again in an intense exchange of blows. Analyzing the arena's environment, she notices the mana concentration is fluctuating. He then explains that his flame releases mana by burning any abstract concept. Continuing his explanation, he reveals that the flame burns his fatigue to generate more mana. With this, he claims the result is an infinite cycle of energy. Charging forward again, he says that in other words, his specialty is simple. Knocked back by a blow, she can barely defend against his charge. Annoyed by the situation, she asks if he's going to keep this up forever. Staying on his feet, he says he's going to stick to her like a tick. With a smile, he reveals his specialty is a total war of attrition. Taunting his opponent, he asks if she likes guys who don't give up. Baring her teeth, she angrily replies that she absolutely hates men like that. Even with its power, the flame leaves a residue, like the ashes from a fire. After 4 hours, his flame finally goes out completely in the arena. Lying on the ground, he begs for mercy, and she is declared the winner. At that moment, one of the men beside her pulls a lollipop from his pocket. Seeing the candy, her other assistants scream in fear at the sight. Offering him the lollipop, she says she attached her business card to it. Reading the card, he wonders what this hunter agency is. With the tests over, the announcer calls him to receive his prize. Back at home, he's impressed by the technology of the hunter's license. Tired from the day, he just wants to rest. But someone calls him from outside. Seeing the man at his door, he's told that he looks better in person than on camera. Noticing his height, he asks who he is, and the man hands him a card. Introducing himself, he reveals he's a hunter from the Taebak Guild and makes an offer. With a smile, the man says that with the right experience, he'll shine. Suddenly, the female hunter appears behind him and offers her phone number. Saying he has an appointment, he pockets the cards to think about it later. Laughing at the situation, the man asks if he thought he wanted an answer right now. Placing a hand on his shoulder, he says there's something else, however. With a threatening look, he warns him to think carefully about his offer. Saying goodbye, the man leaves, leaving him behind with the warning. After the visit, he decides he's definitely going to skip the Taebak offer. Answering the phone, she introduces herself and asks where he wants to meet. With his phone in hand, he tells her he's at a cafe in the association building. Without recognizing the name of the place, he follows the location she sent. Arriving there, she greets him and invites him to sit at the table. Walking through the place, he comments on the unusual name of the cafe she chose. Sitting down, he reveals that a huge guy tried to recruit him earlier. She then explains that the other guilds didn't dare make an offer because of that. With a smile, he asks if that doesn't apply to her guild as well. Revealing her intentions, she says she actually has no plans to recruit him. She then suggests that he work as a freelancer without joining a guild. She mentions that the hunter from Taebak was probably going to offer him a junior position. Not understanding the terms, he asks about the difference between hunter ranks. Explaining the hierarchy, she shows the 3 levels of hunters in a guild. She then says that juniors and seniors belong to teams led by partners. Unlike the others, partners share the profits instead of receiving a salary. Commenting on the system, he says it sounds exactly like a law firm. She then says he doesn't need to belong to a guild to become a partner. With a smile, he understands that if he gets famous, they'll come after him. Handing him a piece of candy, she says that's exactly right, and he finds the gesture odd. He then worries about not having the connections or experience to get jobs. With a confident smile, she says she'll help him with that for free. Not understanding her kindness, he asks why she would do so much for him. She then reveals that she's putting him in her debt for the future. Taking out an envelope, she asks if he wants to take a look at the job. She then explains it's a request from a nearby city with a corrosion zone. Looking at the papers, he finds out the mission is to patrol the island in search of rifts. With the documents in hand, he sees the mission starts in 1 month. Analyzing the contract, he comments that the pay isn't that great. With a smile, she says that if he feels it's unfair, he just has to get famous. She then asks for an answer, and he considers the proposal with a serious look. About to give his answer, he begins to speak about his decision. Changing scenes to a car, someone asks what kind of guy he is. Correcting her assistant, she says he endured the fight for 4 hours. At this, one of the men asks if it wasn't because she limited her power. Looking out the window, she admits she normally would have toyed with an opponent of that level. Arriving at Gyeodongdo Island, she says she doubts she'll ever see another monster like him. Just then, someone warns that it doesn't matter how well she has rated him. Questioning his presence, a hunter points out that the mission called for someone with experience. Worried, they wonder if he'll be able to keep up with the veteran hunters on the team. With a hand on her sword, a woman tells the chief not to worry. Revealing her plan, she says she paired him up with someone very reliable. Looking at Seon, the woman asks what he would be like upon reaching her level. With a serious look, she states that if he ever reaches her level. Finishing the sentence, she says he would be able to defeat even the boss. 1 month in the past, he carries a large package to apartment 1506. Ringing the doorbell, he wonders what could be inside that package. After confirming the address, he finally arrives at the right destination. Opening the door, He confirms his special delivery has finally arrived. Without wasting any time, he unlatches the large case he received. Seeing the contents, his eyes widen as he stares at the newly arrived item. Holding the new spear, he says the weapon will serve him well. Then he picks up the elixir, an emergency potion for hunters. The explanation shows that normal hunters control and store mana in their bodies, but he reveals that his way of using mana is very different. Skipping the storage step, he draws mana directly from the surrounding atmosphere. By doing this, his mana channels eventually grow stronger over time. However, with no time to wait, he decides to stockpile mana using the elixir. By training with it for a month, he believes he'll grow as much as he needs to. After that month, a long line of people forms outside. Confirming his identity, the officer informs him that Yu-chan Seok is in Squad B. On a post, a sign shows the number 8 to indicate the group. There, amidst the others, he listens to the conversations before the mission begins. Suddenly, he hears his name being called and turns around, surprised. It was Han Sang-a, who comments on how different his hair looks now. She then suggests they work together since they're in the same squad. He replies that it's because she's stronger, and he can learn from her. Hearing the compliment, she asks if his shoulders often get dislocated. At that moment, a man in glasses calls for everyone's attention. Gathering Squad B, he announces that the mission briefing will now begin. He explains that there are rookie hunters present, and asks for everyone's understanding. Next, he details the classification of the rifts, including the Alpha category. Showing the location, he warns them not to approach the Alpha Rift. He then says their mission is to patrol 2 specific areas. Nearby, a hunter questions why a rookie is on a mission. Arriving at the location, the officer announces they are on Gyeodongdo Island. Holding his spear, Yu-chan Seok comments on the chilling energy of the place. He and Han Sang-a then walk past the other hunters, moving forward. Just then, one of the men takes out a pack of cigarettes to smoke. Then the officer explains that the situation is being monitored by a control room. Finishing the briefing, he wishes all the hunters the best of luck. Discussing the plan, one hunter says they will explore the area for a week. Within the group, one member stares at another, waiting for a decision. Interrupting the conversation, Yu-chan Seok suggests setting up a base at Hwagyesa Temple. Surprised, a hunter asks who he is and why they should go there. He explains that from the temple, it's possible to observe both mission areas. But one of the hunters retorts, saying there are other places to stay. Seeing their stubbornness, he refuses to follow orders from inexperienced hunters. With that, he suggests they simply act separately if they prefer. Deciding to go alone, his small group moves away through the dense forest. Looking back, he notices that a young man has followed them along with Han Sang-a, so he turns and asks Kim Min-jae why he came with them. Kim Min-jae explains he was worried about leaving 2 rookies alone on the mission. Suddenly, Yu-chan Seok senses a strange movement and goes on high alert. With a quick gesture, he signals the other 2 to stop immediately. Asking for silence, he motions for them to take a look at the situation up ahead. Hiding behind a rock, Kim Min-jae peeks out and is shocked by what he sees. Ahead of them, a large group of corrosion creatures walks through the forest. Scared, he suggests they look for a detour because of the enemies. Trying to calm him down, Yu-chan Seok asks what his unique hunter skill is. He then asks again, wanting to know his special ability. The young man replies that his ability is Flame, with his best attack being a fireball. At that, Yu-chan Seok tells him to attack first on his signal. Confused, Kim Min-jae turns to Han Sang-a, asking what he should do. He warns that it's crazy to fight so many monsters with just 3 people. Saying there's no time, he warns that the other hunters won't make it. Showing the map, he explains that the others are patrolling the coast right now. Furthermore, he warns of the danger of the creatures spreading out and attacking others. After hearing the explanation, Kim Min-jae agrees that he's completely right. He then concludes that, because of the earlier conflict, no one would come to help. At this, Yu-chan Seok declares that their only option is a surprise attack. Drawing out the plan, he instructs Kim Min-jae to attack the center with fire. Finishing the instructions, Kim Min-jae wonders who he really is. Nearby, the group of creatures moves on, still unaware of their presence. On signal, Kim Min-jae leaps forward and unleashes his fireball. Hitting the target dead on, the attack causes a huge explosion. Amidst the flames, the creatures are hit and begin to fall one by one. Carrying Kim Min-jae, he tells him to fire again as soon as he's ready. Without waiting, he swiftly charges towards what's left of the enemy group. With a focused gaze, he charges into the middle of the battle without hesitation. In the midst of the enemies, he attacks them all at once with his spear. One of the creatures is hit and recoils from his blow. Blocking the path, he fights to protect Kim Min-jae from the other monsters. Just then, Han Sang-ah appears and strikes one of the approaching creatures. He then reinforces the importance of dividing tasks in the current battle. Gripping the hilt, she prepares to draw her sword quickly. With a swift movement, she cuts one of the creatures right down the middle. She then turns, ready for the next attack. With his attack charged, Kim Min-jae announces that he can fire again. Leaping into the air, he unleashes a second powerful fireball. Seeing the attack, Yu Chan-seok shouts for him to fire without worrying. The attack hits the ground, sending the remaining enemies flying in all directions. The creature leader then orders its minions to kill the two hunters. One of the remaining monsters is thrown far away after being hit. As the dust settles, he finally lands back on the forest floor. With his back to the scene, he then observes the final result of the battle. Turning his head, he starts to say that everyone there did a good job, but suddenly, Kim Min-jae points a gun directly at his head. Asking him to step back, Kim Min-jae reveals that it wasn't a weapon. He then brings the strange device closer to the body lying on the forest floor. He explains that a broker will come to collect the bodies later. Kim Min-jae then says it's too hard to carry the spoils alone. The brokers mark the monsters with chips and then collect the valuable items. After selling everything, they split the profits with the original hunter. Yu Chan-seok then asks if these brokers are really trustworthy. Praising the fight, he says he never imagined fighting so many monsters. Suddenly, a huge creature bursts from the ground, shattering everything around it. With quick reflexes, Yu Chan-seok pulls him away from danger. Back on their feet, the group faces the new threat that has appeared. Through the dust, the creature reveals a toothy grin. With a serious look, Yu Chan-seok analyzes the new enemy before them. He then warns that it seems to be some kind of mid-boss for the area. Seeing the monster, Kim Min-jae just laments their situation. Looking at the creature, he wonders if it's the leader of the pack. Then he announces he'll fight alone, telling them not to interfere. Worried, they suggest buying time with an attack so they can retreat. Yelling at them, he orders them to stop talking and fall back now. Shocked by the order, the two back away without another word. Now alone, he prepares to use his flames without holding back. He then challenges the enemy, calling it to the imminent battle. With that, a great battle begins between the two in the forest. Watching from a distance, Kim Min-jae suggests they need to help in the fight, but Han Sang-ah says there's no need to interfere for now. She explains that despite the pressure, he hasn't been hit, and that wasn't all as she continues to analyze the fight from afar. Clarifying the situation, she says he's dodging and attacking simultaneously. Furthermore, she notices dark flames coming from the spear with each attack. As the flames grow, the monster gets slower and slower in combat. She realizes he's just toying with the monster now. Impressed, she wonders how that's possible for a mere rookie. Dodging the blow, he sidesteps the monster as it charges full force. Twisting his body, he prepares for the next move in the fight. He then grips the spear even tighter in his hands. With a swift motion, he throws the spear high into the air. Seeing this, she screams in surprise at what he just did. The spear flies, and Kim Min-jae wonders why he threw it. Seizing the opportunity, the monster charges to attack Yu Chan-seok directly. Getting very close, the monster comes face to face with him. He simply turns as the creature rushes right past him, but the spear returns and strikes the monster hard in the back. Holding the spear, he notices the monster can still move. With a determined look, he says he'll have to finish the fight. From a distance, his two companions watch in disbelief. Not understanding, Kim Min-jae wonders what happened to the fallen monster. Turning around, Yu Chan-seok calls out Kim Min-jae's name. He then asks if it's normal for a monster like that to appear on the island. He then recalls that the local rift was an unclassified level. With this, he concludes the rift must have risen to grade 3. Asking him to think about it, he says it's the only explanation. Startled, Kim Min-jae says the difference between the levels is gigantic. He then concludes that almost none of the other hunters will survive. Desperate, he asks Yu Chan-seok to save the others, but he refuses. Explaining his decision, he says he can't save everyone by himself. Then Han Sang-ah says that's not their mission, and that losses happen. She then turns and asks what he would do in the same situation. He then questions if he should feel compassion and go save them because of it. With a dark look, he says he's not talking about emotion, but about results. In a flashback, he states that some deaths in this world are unavoidable. He continues, saying that in the face of that kind of death, there's only one outcome. Advising the two, he tells them not to get carried away by a desperate situation. He then warns that with that mentality, you can't survive in this world. Arriving at the temple, he kicks the door open to get inside. Assessing the area, He says the building is secure and free of monsters. Once inside, Kim Min-jae asks if he can see anything. Yoo Chan-seok then points out that he can see the other hunters' lights. He explains that using lights is dangerous because it reveals their location. He continues, saying that if another monster of that type appears, it'll be a problem. Deciding to help, he resolves to at least send a warning message to everyone. In the message, he warns them about the monster and the danger of using lights. At another point, someone asks if destroying the rift's core will solve everything. Analyzing the idea, he concludes that the solution to the problem is simple. With a plan in mind, he decides he will destroy the corrosion rift. Meanwhile, Han Sang-ah rests there for a moment with her eyes closed. In the corner, Kim Min-jae also takes the moment to get some rest. Before leaving, Yoo Chan-seok leaves an alarm device on the floor. Trusting the alarm, he decides he can leave them and come back later. Leaving the temple behind, he begins his journey alone through the night. Running through the forest, he believes things will go smoothly, but suddenly, he stops upon sensing an unexpected presence nearby. Just ahead, a dark hooded figure emerges from the darkness. Seeing this, he laments celebrating too soon. The creature asks if it's him again, gathering energy in its hand. Back at the base, an operator reports the loss of the hunter's signal. The nervous operation leader grows angry at reports of organized monsters. He declares an emergency and calls for reinforcements for all hunters. Just then, a subordinate warns that someone is approaching the Alpha Rift. Annoyed, he orders them to stop the person at once and asks who it is. The operator reveals it's Yoo Chan-seok from Team B. Desperate, the leader orders them to connect to the terminal and confirm everything. But just then, Yoo Chan-seok's scream echoes through the communicator. Down on the ground, he yells that the creature is much faster. Over the radio, he curses out the team for not investigating the rift properly. Now confirmed to be alive, Yoo Chan-seok continues his analysis. He realizes he needs to weaken the monster and finish it with his spear. As he starts to flee, he sees the creature won't give up easily. He understands his power is weaker from using too much mana. To win, he needs to find a place on the island to absorb mana. Running through the forest, he seems to spot something just ahead. He confirms he's found what he was looking for in the woods, but the creature catches up, landing hard near him. Skidding to a halt, he stops and prepares for a confrontation. Turning to the monster, he warns that it had better follow him. With a smirk, he says he has something he needs to check first. Back at the base, the operator announces the GPS signal has been lost. The desperate manager realizes he's entered the Alpha Corrosion Rift. Already inside the rift, he remarks that the place is quite clean. Then he wonders about the size of higher-grade rifts. Without wasting time, the creature also enters the rift right behind him. Inside, the monster asks if they should finally settle things between them. In response, the creature just opens its mouth and lets out a roar. Holding his spear, he reveals a problem with his paradoxical flame. He then explains that the flame spreads to all beings. He explains that the flame spreads and even affects his allies. That's why if he loses control, the ability becomes useless. But still, he charges forward and climbs the rock to attack. With his hand raised, he gathers energy for his attack. The creature then starts to be enveloped by the energy he has released. Fighting alone, he says that this disadvantage simply doesn't exist for him. Beginning to concentrate, he gathers mana in the center of his chest. Inside his body, mana flows and strengthens his entire being. Spreading through his body, the mana widens and strengthens his mana pathways. After absorbing the mana, he slowly exhales. Fully energized, he comments that it was more efficient than he had imagined. Before him, the creature roars, sensing the new threat. Suddenly, a wave of energy spreads throughout the area. Realizing the trap, he understands what the creature was planning. Then the monster stops and stares at him from a distance in the open field. Facing the new enemies, he says the creature called for reinforcements, but he warns that it's now too late to try and overwhelm him with numbers. Running towards the abyss, he prepares to jump in. Standing there, he wonders where the rift's core might be. Suddenly, he senses something and tells the creature to stop. Behind him, a hooded being prepares to strike him with a scythe. With a quick glance, he turns to face the new threat. The scythe's blade scrapes along the ground and stops right in front of him. The being says it waited for his flame to run out. Then it warns him that since it's the rift's core, he is going to die. Assessing the situation, he believes he can use a 4-hit combo. Advancing quickly, he prepares to attack the hooded being. The enemy then fires a powerful energy beam at him. With his spear, he manages to block the direct attack. The impact of the block causes a large explosion. He then prepares to use his dual orbit spear technique. With his spear, he unleashes a powerful attack against the masked enemy. The blow lands a direct hit, causing the opponent's mask to start cracking. His technique creates a trajectory that perfectly mimics his first strike. By attacking along with the trajectory, he can create a 4-hit combo, but he wonders what happens if the trajectory attacks with a delay. This completes a double attack that becomes very difficult to dodge. Receiving a delayed double attack, the opponent ends up cornered. Surprised, the enemy stares at the energy coming its way. With no way to react, the opponent is sure to make a mistake. Struck head-on, the rift's core finally falls to the ground, defeated. With the enemy on the ground, he declares the battle is finally over. The other monsters then begin to be hit by multiple energy attacks. The core's body is also struck by several energy spheres. Watching the mask disintegrate, he says he thought it would just disappear. In place of the mask, he finds a small box and wonders what it is. Opening the box, he sees what's inside and is surprised. With a smile on his face, he just stares at the object he found. Back at the base, chaos erupts with the bad news. Amidst the confusion, a man is bombarded with bad news from all sides. Staring into space, he wonders if this is the end of everything. Hopeless, he laments having to watch everyone be eliminated. But suddenly, a message from Yu Chan-seok arrives at the control center. The operator says he'll put the message on the main screen for everyone. The message announces that the Alpha Rift's signal has simply vanished. In disbelief, the operation leader says that it's a miracle. He then wonders how any of it was possible. Sitting outside, he just enjoys the fresh air and the sky. Amidst the chaos, the creatures of corrosion are being destroyed on all sides. With her sword, Han Sang-ah keeps fighting off the approaching monsters. Tired, she says there are too many monsters, and Yu Chan-seok has also disappeared. Beside her, Kim Min-jae just listens to what she said. Completely surrounded, they wonder if they'll make it out of this situation alive. Looking back, she says that Kim Min-jae has already reached his limit. With her leg injured, she adds that she doesn't know how much longer she can last either. Even so, she pushes forward to continue the fight against the remaining enemies. Suddenly, she starts to lose her balance and almost falls to the ground. Muttering that her legs can't hold her, monsters rush in to attack with full force. Seeing this, Kim Min-jae screams her name in total desperation. With a determined look, he turns toward his fallen companion. Under the full moon, a sudden sound echoes throughout the dark forest. Lying on the ground, Han Sang-ah slowly opens her eyes, still confused. Lifting her head, she wonders what could have happened. Confused, she realizes that all the monsters around her have vanished. Back at the meeting point, the hunters gather after the battle. Observing the wounded, Yu Chan-seok comments on the creature's attack. Suddenly, 2 hunters recognize him and approach in surprise. They then wonder how he managed to defeat a rift all by himself. From a distance, Kim Min-jae spots Yu Chan-seok and calls out to him. He says he was shocked by his message and his plan. Yu Chan-seok then says he acted from the heart to protect everyone. But suddenly someone calls out to him, interrupting the group's conversation. A man introduces himself as the manager of the Korea Operations Corporation. Yu Chan-seok recognizes him and asks if he has a moment to talk. The manager then says that the city's mayor would like to see him. In the rain, he thinks about negotiating the bonus for clearing the rift. A man with an umbrella approaches to greet him there in the rain. Introducing himself, he says his name is Lee Pilji, the communications officer. Walking down the hall, the man says the mayor was eager for the meeting. He then says the mayor canceled all his morning appointments. He continues, saying that it's rare for a rookie to destroy a rift alone. Arriving at the room, he announces that hunter Yu Chan-seok has finally arrived. Thanking him for coming, the mayor introduces himself and welcomes him. He introduces himself as Park Jae-on, the mayor of Incheon. Then he asks them to sit down and request coffee from the officer. The mayor explains that the island was a problem, but the budget was limited. Sipping his coffee, he confirms this was his first commission as a hunter. Excited, the mayor says he's proud to have a hero like him. Suddenly, the mayor starts talking about the country's security and greatness. He continues, praising the economy and the development of Incheon City. He then assures him that he will offer full assistance for his future. With a serious look, he asks to pose just a single question. Back in the car, he asks what his purpose is as a hunter. He replies that someone needs to dive in and clear out the muck. Hearing the answer, the man just stares back at him without saying a word. Then, the man warns him that he's going to become famous and very popular. He explains that many hunters lose their way because of fame. The man says that, in a way, this is a natural thing to happen. He then reminds him that the only safe place is Korea. Finishing his advice, he says he hopes he will continue to be a symbol. After hearing all this, he becomes curious to see how far they would go. He then realizes he isn't the type to be swayed by this. Interrupting the conversation, he says that to receive support, he needs to give something in return. He suggests helping a mayor with low approval ratings get re-elected. The mayor admits that he is well informed about the current situation. He continues, saying his term ends next year and re-election will be difficult. The mayor then reveals that he needed the city hall's approval. At this, he realizes the mayor just wants to ride on his coattails. The mayor says that as mayor, he maintains relationships with many companies. He then suggests they could replace a coffee brand's model with him. Interrupting, he slams his cup on the table and calls out to the mayor. With a serious look, he says the mayor seems to think he's cheap. Confused, the mayor listens as he says that a new face is needed. He continues, saying that a talent like his should remain a hunter. Then he points out that everything the mayor offered is already his by right. Trying to recover, the mayor offers safe commissions, but he finds the offer uninteresting. With a dismissive gesture, he tells the mayor to congratulate the coffee model instead. He explains that, thanks to this, the model will be able to extend his contract. Changing scenes, heavy rain falls on an outdoor area at night. A hooded figure tells Lee Piljae that the test on the island failed. Lee Piljae says there's nothing to be done, but he has good news. Showing something, he explains it's a clip from his certification exam. In the video, Yoo Chan-seok uses his flame, and the person is impressed. Watching the video, a hooded man comments that he is indeed excellent. As the first day of the month arrives, everyone eagerly awaits the new hunter rankings. Showing his phone, Yoon Seong asks his mother to see what happened. Meanwhile, a group of young people discuss who will be number one. In a hospital room, Kim Min-jae and his companion also wait for the results. Cleaning her sword, Lee Se-yoon wonders if that guy is on the list too. Sitting in his chair, a man realizes that things were different this time. Swiping the screen, he says that what really matters is the top 10. In 10th place, the ranking shows Lee Se-yoon on a mission in the snow. The 5th place is revealed to be the hunter named Kim Chae-hyun. In 3rd place, the ranking shows the powerful Choi Yorium. Taking 2nd place, Jang Tae-suk appears amidst a lot of rubble. Finally, 1st place is announced, and it's the rookie Yoo Chan-seok. Behind the door, a man informs him that he's waited long enough and can come out now. Reading the rookie list, someone points out they saw his name there. Congratulating him on his debut, his name appears on the rankings in record time. He explains that a veteran hunter clearing a grade 3 rift alone would be ignored, but for a rookie's first mission, it's a completely different story. Giving an interview, he says he will only answer one last question. A reporter then asks about his future plans as a hunter. With a serious look, he tells them to forget the usual cliches. He then declares to everyone that he will prove his worth with results. In a helicopter, someone says that place used to be Gonsal Prison. Flying over the city, he comments that most countries lost everything. Only South Korea managed to defend itself and become a world power. He then asks if the other countries ended up like this because of the rifts. The man then suggests they take a closer look at the site. Down below is one of the 8 most dangerous rifts in the world, Gonsal Prison. It formed suddenly 13 years ago. In the city center, the rift's appearance happened without any sign or prior warning, and the few who survived were swept away with no chance to escape. In just a few days, an entire city simply vanished from the map without warning. The man then explains that the power of central governments has weakened significantly. Yoo Chan-seok asks what this has to do with why he's there. The man reveals that Yoon Seong-hyun came looking for him days ago. He then remembers the large man from before, the one who threatened him. Surprised, he hears that Yoon Seong-hyun asked about his whereabouts. The man then warns that the Taebaek Guild might try to subjugate him by force. Worried, he says it would be difficult to beat that guy in a brute force fight. To block the guild, the man suggests he build up his reputation. He then tells him that to do so, he just needs to remember this favor. With that, he hands him an envelope and says, this is all he needs. Yoo Chan-seok asks what his mission will be, and the man explains in the helicopter. Reading the list, he comes across several luxury items for the mission. The man then says that, for some people, these are basic necessities. Confused, he says he doesn't understand why a country would need this. The man then explains that international politics haven't lost their value yet. Understanding the situation, he refuses to take part in the escort mission. Trying to stop him, the man says the mission is important for the government, but he warns that he won't change his mind and get involved in politics. The man then says that he's just a rookie and is being rude. Unfazed, he just stares back at the man in silence. Suddenly, he throws all the mission papers out of the helicopter. Thanking him for the ride, he turns and gets ready to exit the vehicle. Surprised, the man hears him say he's going to swim to Seoul by himself. Stepping onto the edge, he prepares to jump from the moving helicopter. Without hesitating, he throws himself backward towards the sea below. Seeing this, the man is shocked and holds on to keep from falling. With a loud splash, he hits the water, sending up a huge spray. Annoyed, the man just complains about the youth of today. In the background, the sun sets over the great port of Incheon. At the port, A worker takes a break and notices something strange in the water. The water begins to bubble, indicating that something is about to surface. Suddenly, a hand emerges from the water and grabs onto the edge. Climbing out of the water, Yu Chan-seok takes a deep breath, catching his breath. He then says he thought he was going to die from the threat he received. The worker says he must have been through a lot and consoles him. With a new goal in mind, he decides he needs to build his own strength. He then decides he will prioritize the most difficult missions. By doing this, he believes he won't be influenced by anyone else. Looking at his phone, he says that one of the missions looks really good. On the screen, he accepts the mission from the Association for Abduction Victims. The mission takes him to a corrosion rift estimated at grade 2. Sitting on the edge, he watches the sunset before the mission. With a tired look, he says he's going to be busy for a while. On September 3rd, fishermen head out to sea for shrimp season. But this time, the sea was very different from what they were used to. Corrosion creatures appeared and kidnapped the fishermen at sea. According to a survivor, the captured fishermen are reportedly still alive. The mission is to go to the island, rescue the hostages, and eliminate the rift. Looking at his phone, he confirms the details of the mission he accepted. The reward is 55 million and the rift is grade 2. If he can handle it all by himself, the entire reward will be his. On top of that, he'll also get a heroic story and immense fame. Even though it's worth it, he knows the creatures vary greatly in power. He explains that if a grade 3 rift has the power of a tank, a grade 2 creature is already considered a natural disaster, and for a grade 1, an entire country needs to mobilize to fight it. He then wonders if he could handle the power of a grade 2 rift. Thinking about the mission, he concludes there's someone who might be useful. On a boat in the middle of the ocean, he prepares for the next mission. From behind, Han Sang-ah calls out his name. She then asks how much longer until they reach the island. Checking his phone, he replies that it should be about another hour. He then warns her that this battle will be tougher than the last one. Suddenly, she asks about the item he's wearing on his shoulder. Excited, she says it's a limited edition shoulder guard and asks how he got it. He explains that the scrap dealer gave it to him as a gift. With a smile, he says the level of expectation is quite different. He then advises her to get stronger if she feels it's unfair. In a flashback from a few days ago, a conversation between them begins. He invites her to be his teammate on a new mission. She questions if that's possible, remembering the danger they went through. On the phone, he just listens to her attentively without saying a word. He then asks if she doesn't want to become stronger. He assures her that he can teach her how to get much stronger. With his help, she could become several times stronger. Faced with the offer, he then asks what she'll decide to do. Back in the present, she stares at the horizon with a determined look. With determination, she says she'd jump into hell itself to get stronger. Suddenly, an unidentified object is confirmed dead ahead. Looking closer, they realize it's a total of 5 ships approaching. He then wonders how they'll get there without being seen by civilians. He asks if she has a way, but she just leaps up. Surprised, he questions if she actually has a talent for that. With a smile, she teases him about there being something he can't do. Laughing, she says that it's very easy. Without further delay, the two of them leap together toward the sea. Carrying her on his back, he tells her he can't run on water yet. With a focused gaze, he continues to push through the sea with great difficulty. He then asks Han Sang-ah to take care of the ship closest to them. He explains that he can feel mana coming from the ships ahead. After understanding, she agrees and gets ready to go. Looking at the ship, she notices something strange and becomes alert. She then wonders if the figure she sees is human. Landing on the ship, he tells her to look more closely. On the ship, a group of strange creatures is attacking the local fishermen. Seeing the scene, Han Sang-ah leaps and lands hard on the deck. He warns her that if she lands like that, she'll end up hurting her knees. Besides, he says she'll attract unwanted attention. He then stomps on the floor, drawing everyone's attention. Moving quickly, he starts attacking all the creatures at once. He realizes the monsters aren't high level, just grade 2. In that moment, he turns and realizes Han Sang-ah is in danger. Shouting her name, he quickly turns in her direction. He warns her that she's using too much mana and will run out soon. He adds that a much lower level is sufficient. He then remembers the promise he made to her before. In the midst of the fight, she destroys one of the creatures with a powerful attack. He yells that she's still using too much mana unnecessarily. Telling her to cut back more, he continues to instruct her during combat. With a focused gaze, she continues to fight the monsters on the ship. She then remembers that the life of the weak is a tragedy. Using her ability, she hits one of the monsters right in the middle. The creature then opens its mouth and lets out a cry of pain. The attack pierces through the enemy, completely destroying it in seconds. With determination, she says she'd jump into hell itself to get stronger. With one final blow, the creature is destroyed and its remains fall. Standing, she catches her breath after the long, hard battle. He then lands on the ship and asks if the battle is finally over. With a thumbs up, He tells her he's already taken care of all the other boats. In silence, she just holds her sword and stares back at him. Thanking him for the advice, she says she learned a lot with his help. He then wonders what she means by academy and learning. She explains that no one helped her because they found her ability to learn annoying. Hearing this, he just makes a surprised face without saying a word. He then assures her that he'll make sure she keeps learning from him. Arriving at the port, they prepare for the next part of the mission. On site, 2 police officers approach and salute them. Wishing them luck, they say they'll be waiting there on the island. He then says that according to the survivor, the hostages are in the sanctuary. She explains that there are 2 sanctuaries on the island for them to investigate. She says the first sanctuary is a few hours away from there. He then points out that the problem isn't getting there, but getting back. With 15 hostages, the return trip will be much harder if they're injured. Besides, he can feel a sinister mana coming from the fog. To avoid attacks, they need at least 1 vehicle for everyone. Finding a van, he asks if Han Sang-a is a good driver. Inside the vehicle, he yells at her, completely terrified of her driving. She then says that if he doesn't like it, he should drive himself. Holding on tight, he tells her to forget it, saying it's better if she drives. He then jumps onto the roof of the van to fight while she drives. He explains that he's much better at fighting than driving a car. Using a whip, he prepares to attack the monsters on the road. With 1 strike, he hits the van behind them and sends it flying. The blow squarely hits one of the monsters right in the head. Pulling the whip back, he gets ready for the next attack. Attaching the whip to the van, he says the thing is pretty tough. Suddenly, he notices something and is on high alert again. He then warns that there are enemies coming from the left side of the road. With a determined look, she says to leave the new enemies to her. Worried, he tells her to wait, because if she does that, without hesitating, she slams the van right into the monsters. Laughing out loud, she yells for the monsters to get scraped across the asphalt. With a tired look, he says that maybe he should have driven. From a distance, they spot the mountains and the lake, getting closer to their destination. The van climbs a wooden road in the middle of a forest. Right behind them, a horde of monsters continues to chase them relentlessly. Seeing the sanctuary, she tells him to get ready to go in. She says she'll take care of the monsters, and he just agrees to the plan. With a quick move, he gets ready to jump from the moving van. Shouting, she tells him she's going to keep moving forward and leaves him behind. On top of the van, he starts gathering his energy in his hand. Saying the monsters won't stop, he decides to end the chase. With a focused look, he prepares to use his full power. Using his flame, he completely burns the wooden staircase just ahead. He then explains he just needs to burn the stairs to reduce the friction. Sliding quickly, he goes down the flaming staircase to the sanctuary. Inside, Han Sang-a finds one of the hostages tied up in a corner. Approaching him, she asks if he's feeling all right. Looking up, the hostage just stammers, unable to answer properly. She then introduces herself as Hunter Han Sang-a from the association. Suddenly, the man starts shaking, staring at what's behind her. Without warning, the hostage starts screaming loudly at her. Then the other hostages grab her as she yells that she came to save them. Crying, the first man just screams for her to run as fast as she can. Confused by the situation, she asks what they mean by that. Behind her, a large armored figure appears, ready for combat. Arriving just in time, Yu Chan-seok blocks the sword's blow with his spear. Then he tells her to take the survivors, saying he'll handle the enemy. The enemy attacks him with a sword, but he manages to defend himself. Struck by a blow, the warrior falls hard onto the sanctuary floor. Raising his sword, the warrior prepares for another attack against him. From under his helmet, the enemy glares at him with a menacing look. He then prepares to strike the great warrior with his spear. Rushing forward, he strikes the enemy's leg with a swift blow. Shouting for him to die, he attacks with all his might to win. The blow shatters the enemy's helmet, revealing his true identity. After being defeated, the great warrior kneels on the sanctuary floor. Opening the door, he warns her not to touch the steering wheel on the way back. Outside, he asks if all the hostages are on board. Han Sang-a then notices something strange and becomes alert again. She tells him to look ahead, because there's something on the road. In the darkness, dozens of red eyes stare relentlessly at the van. Suddenly, a horde of creatures leaps onto the van to attack. With a smile, he says the monsters are still alive after all. Turning back, he asks Han Sang-a to lend him her sword. Annoyed, she says that asking for her sword is a great insult to her. He then says she knows what's more important right now. Without hesitation, he jumps onto the van's roof with the sword in hand. Holding the sword, he prepares to use a new skill. He then says he didn't think he'd need to use this so soon. In a flashback, he walks through a grade 3 rift. Inside, he finds a mysterious item and is quite surprised. Getting closer, he wonders if the object is just a glove. Putting on the glove, he realizes it wasn't an ordinary item. The glove begins to gather mana from the atmosphere around it. He then concludes it's an item to supplement the user's mana. But for him, the glove has a capacity of about 5 minutes. During that time, he can become strong enough to fight. Back in the present, he jumps onto the van's roof with his weapons. Activating the glove, he prepares to fight the horde of monsters. With sword in hand, he attacks and destroys all nearby enemies. Seeing this, Han Sang-ga is shocked by the power he displays. He then tells her to drive to the port without looking back. The van speeds up, leaving the horde of monsters behind in the forest. Arriving at the port, they encounter more enemies on the road. She then says she thought they just had to get past the monsters. From the van's roof, he continues to fight the creatures that appear. She warns that the van is at its limit, but he tells her to just drive. Suddenly, the van is surrounded by the enemy's energy. The energy hits the tires, causing the van to lose control. With one last attack, the creatures of corrosion are completely destroyed. With a serious look, she continues to drive at high speed. The van then manages to break through the barrier and move forward. Looking back, she notices the monsters are being blocked by something. She then wonders what could be stopping the monsters from advancing. Through the window, she sees a symbol on the wall and wonders if that's the reason. Back in the flashback, he draws the same symbol on a building's wall. He then explains that it's a drawing method that repels monsters. She asks where he learned it, but he says he can't teach her. He says he's getting better and better at his fighting skills. She then asks if the method works against any type of monster. He replies that he wishes it did, but unfortunately it doesn't. The technique doesn't work on the real monsters they encounter up ahead. The great warrior just repeats that he needs to protect something there. With a shiver, she feels a strange sensation and becomes alert. He explains that the atmosphere has grown cold, but it doesn't seem like a threat. She then remembers the skill to predict an opponent's attack. At that, she grips the hilt of her sword, preparing for combat. Telling her not to be afraid, he gets ready to show her how to fight. He then says these techniques are nothing more than simple tricks. With a focused look, he says he'll teach her how to deal with it. The warrior then writhes in pain and prepares to attack. He raises his sword and charges for another attack against the hunter. Confused, she asks why he's going against the enemy alone. He explains that the skill is a reflex born from experience. The warrior stops his attack upon sensing the intent coming from Chan Seok. She then remembers the names of the skills he mentioned before. He says all those names are just for the so-called realms. Without waiting, he moves forward and prepares to strike the enemy. The warrior tries to defend himself, but the blow lands squarely. With a single strike, he destroys the armored warrior's arm. He then says that, in truth, these techniques are nothing special. He explains that what matters on the battlefield doesn't need a name. He states that he has every right to say what he's saying. To escape the trap, he says he paid with countless sacrifices in the past. Then he comments that the enemy survived the car, but his technique was simple. With a frustrated look, she begins to question what she's accomplished on her own. She then remembers that his strength surpassed anything she could have imagined. Determined, she grips her sword tighter, changing her mindset on the spot. Focusing on her goal, she turns to him with a newfound determination. With a serious look, she then asks him to truly teach her. He then asks if he isn't already teaching her with his tips. She says she doesn't just want advice, but his direct guidance. Admitting her weakness, she says she wants to progress even faster. He gives her a serious look and asks why she's in such a hurry. With determination, she reveals she wants to take down the Shaddai Club. The Shaddai Club is one of the 8 most dangerous rifts in the world. He tells her that goal is far too ambitious. She then confirms it's revenge for her family. Taking the card, he reads the name KY Group and the amount. He's then surprised to find out she was from an important family. He warns her that if she succeeds, she could end up in the line of succession. She then tells him to make her the best, and she'll give him elixirs. Extending her hand, she offers him the elixirs to achieve his desires. He realizes she wouldn't believe him if he told her the truth. The realm he wants to reach is one he already achieved long ago. He explains that his only goal is to return the world to how it was. As they shake hands, he says he doesn't need anything so hard to obtain. For now, he says he just needs to take the car to the medical center. At the hospital, a doctor jots down information about the newly arrived patients. He then asks how long everyone's recovery will take. The doctor informs him it will be at least a week before they can talk. The doctor asks them to let the patients rest, saying he'll notify them when they wake up. He then calls her outside, saying they should start right now. Outside, he faces her, already prepared for the training. Before they begin, he says he has a question for her. He then asks if she can dodge a full-force attack. She says it would be difficult, but he assures her she can dodge it. He explains that if she pushes her senses to the limit, It's possible. The training begins, and he tells her to see with her eyes. Continuing the instruction, he tells her to listen with her ears. He continues, telling her to smell her surroundings. Then he tells her to feel everything with her own skin. As he gets closer, he tells her to master all her senses. He asks, "Got it?" and then immediately tests her reaction. Suddenly vanishing, he disappears before he even finishes speaking. Not knowing where he is, she tries to locate him by sound first. Appearing behind her, he warns that her choice was wrong. He explains that senses come first, and thoughts follow. Placing the spear against her, he tells her to trust her senses and move. With the theory portion finished, he announces they'll now move on to practice. Just then, a huge explosion goes off in a building nearby. Seeing the smoke, the two police officers run toward the sound. Arriving at the scene, one of them wonders where they went, but the officer is shocked and can't finish his sentence. Startled, he just asks what it is he's seeing. Amidst the dust, Han Sang-ah and Yu Chan-seok exchange blows. Advancing with her sword, she prepares to attack with all her strength. He then prepares to block the blow with his spear. With one move, he disarms her and throws her aside. Without her weapon, she slides toward the edge of the building under construction. Suddenly, he appears and catches her before she can fall. With a focused gaze, she holds her sword and prepares to attack. She then realizes she can't dodge the attack he's preparing. Suddenly, one of the officers shouts his name, interrupting the training. Running toward them, the officer reports that one of the survivors has woken up. Confused, she wonders if their time is up and halts her attack. Seeing her progress, he says they'll end the first training session there. At the hospital, he asks the survivor if he's feeling okay. He then explains that a truck arrived at the place where he was held captive. Confused, they wonder if more hostages were arriving at the location. He says they were too calm and didn't seem hostile. He then explains that they took some of the hostages and led them away. He continues, saying they were too calm to be hostages. Yu Chan-seok understands why there were only 7 hostages at the site. The survivor then reveals it wasn't an escape, but something planned. Surprised, Han Sang-ah hears that the others let them go. He says it's strange for a civilian to escape from such a dangerous place. She then wonders if the mission was a trap from the start. With a dark smile, he grows irritated at the enemy's audacity. Han Sang-ah wonders why he's so angry. He then asks the survivor if he can remember anything else. The survivor says he remembers seeing a cat at the location. He continues, saying that on the person's hip, there was a cat mascot. Arriving at the airport, they prepare for the next stage of the mission. She asks how he found out, and he tells her to use her phone. She then says he wouldn't understand, since normal people pay bills. Seeing no one around, she suggests they return to the sanctuary, but he tells her there's no need, as he's found who he was looking for right there. Looking up, they see a face full of piercings staring down at them. With a smile, he wonders if the face was stitched together by a machine. With his arms crossed, the man greets them, calling the two of them brats. Introducing himself as Kim Ji-hyun, the man stares down at them. He then informs them that he'll be the one to get them out of there alive. Surprised, they question what he means by getting them out alive. Just then, he lifts up an injured hostage, saying he'll show them the opposite first. Then, he simply throws the man into a dark rift. Shocked, Han Sang-ah asks if he's throwing people into the corrosion rift. Her eyes widen completely as she witnesses the enemy's cruel act. Moments later, the man re-emerges, transformed into a terrifying creature of corrosion. Almost instantly, the creature is sliced in half by a swift attack. Seeing the scene, Yu Chan-seok murmurs that this can't be real. Kim Ji-hyun begins to explain that they must be wondering why. Smiling, he reveals that sacrificing ordinary people didn't produce satisfactory creatures. Hearing this, Han Sang-ah realizes they didn't want the hostages' money. Yu Chan-seok then concludes that they needed the hostages themselves as raw material. Ji-hyun says he doesn't mind explaining their grand cause. He continues, saying their goal is to strengthen South Korea. With a shout, he stomps on the ground, shattering everything around him. He then charges straight at Yu Chan-seok, who prepares his defense. Using his weapon, Chan-seok blocks the punch, but the impact shatters his shield. Surprised by the strength, he complains that this is a load of bullshit. The scene quickly cuts to the facade of a large blue building. Back in the arena, Yu Chan-seok says he thought the country was already strong. Shouting, Ji-hyun replies that it's not enough and that they will go further. Unfazed, Yu Chan-seok gets into position, ready for the next move. Then Ji-hyun leaps, preparing a kick and shouting about becoming a superpower. In midair, he tells the young man to think about the history of the Korean peninsula. Showing the past, he speaks of the tributes and how they were forced to bow down. Then he recalls that, in the end, their sovereignty was stolen by another nation. Ji-hyun then shouts that they will repay every humiliation they've ever suffered. Landing hard, he promises they will leave absolutely nothing behind. He states that without the rifts, Korea would lose its current position of power. Watching the fight, Han Sang-ah says this means something very specific. Yoo Chan-seok then states that he has no intention of saving the world, and Ji-hyun confirms it. Mentioning the lives at stake, he questions Ji-hyun's priorities, but Ji-hyun says they know nothing. He then reveals that his group has found a way to control the rifts. Chan-seok retorts that if that were true, they could be living stable lives. At the revelation, Ji-hyun shows interest in cooperating, but Han Sang-ah shouts out Chan-seok's name. With a mocking tone, Ji-hyun simply asks why he should tell them anything. He reveals they've already managed to control enough, which irritates Yoo Chan-seok. The young man then accuses him of being a con artist who never shows any proof. Furious, Ji-hyun screams at him to shut up and attacks with a high kick. Barely dodging, Chan-seok regrets having gone too far with the provocation. He explains to himself that he tried to buy time for his mana, but it didn't work. Unable to use his best technique, a battle of attrition becomes his only option. In another part of the arena, Han Sang-ah charges forward and attacks one of the creatures. Surprised by the move, Ji-hyun wonders what's happening over there. With a scornful tone, he says he thought she was quiet because she was scared. Seeing her stance, he asks if she managed to muster up some courage, but Yoo Chan-seok tells her to fall back, saying she can't handle him. She then pulls out an elixir, asking how much time he needs to recover. Replying that he needs 5 minutes, he watches her drink the entire contents of the vial. Then, she throws the empty container on the ground, ready for the confrontation. With her body releasing power, she tells him to leave everything to her. He worriedly asks about the elixir, warning that she might overload. Agreeing with the plan, he states that he can finish everything after the 5 minutes are up. With a serious look, she simply asks Yoo Chan-seok not to lose. Changing scenes, the sky quickly darkens over a mountain road. Suddenly, a huge bolt of lightning cuts through the clouds, illuminating the dark landscape. Back in the arena, Ji-hyun tells the girl to take it easy during the fight, but she unleashes a powerful blow, and someone screams that she might kill him. Struck head-on, Ji-hyun's eyes widen, completely stunned. A pillar of energy crashes down directly on the man, kicking up a lot of dust. Seeing the result, Han Sang-ah wonders if she managed to hit him successfully, but Ji-hyun appears, injured, spitting blood and questioning what just happened. He's thrown back, asking if that attack was meant to be something special. With a swift counterattack, he hurls Han Sang-ah forcefully in the opposite direction. Hit squarely by the blow, she is launched into the air, completely defenseless. Just then, Yoo Chan-seok appears and manages to catch her before she hits the ground. Looking down, Ji-hyun taunts him, calling him by the nickname Stitch Face. Holding the girl, Chan-seok asks if he is ready to die now. Confused, Ji-hyun questions how his mana increased so much in such a short time. With his ally in his arms, Chan-seok asks why he's so surprised. He then explains that the principle is the same as the piercings Ji-hyun uses. With his weapon in hand, he says that only an idiot wouldn't know that. Finishing his explanation, he tells Ji-hyun to look around and see the mana. Raising his weapon, he says that thanks to this, he's recovered his main technique. Ji-hyun shouts, questioning how he absorbed the mana that was wasted in the air. Chan-seok replies that he doesn't need to know because he's going to die right here. Charging forward, he unleashes a rapid sequence of 16 direct strikes. Gasping for air, Ji-hyun says he can't breathe or even feel his heartbeat. Yoo Chan-seok watches him, saying he can barely stand using just mana. He then explains that his strike burned away all of his enemy's muscle strength. In that instant, a sudden flash of light zips across the battlefield at high speed. Realizing it's a surprise attack, he quickly turns to shield himself from the impact. Using his weapon, he manages to deflect the projectile at the last possible second. With the deflection, an arrow embeds itself forcefully into the ground right beside him. Still recovering, he wonders what the hell that was this time. From a distance, a hooded man says he intended to crush his wrist. Praising his reaction, he adds that the young man has shown great instincts. Chan-seok analyzes him, wondering if this is the group's captain. He admits that this opponent is at least twice as strong as Lee Se-yoon. The captain then asks if he isn't afraid of death, since he's so brave. Looking up, he says that if the captain intended to kill him, he would have done it already. Then he asks if the captain is interested in the power of his eye. In agony, Ji-hyun begs for help, saying the flames are getting stronger. The captain then orders him to put out the flames, warning that he won't repeat himself. The scene changes, showing the moment he deflected the earlier attack. With the order followed, the flames finally die out, leaving Ji-hyun exhausted. He stands there, completely drained of strength and unable to move on his own. Just then, the captain suddenly appears beside him and holds him firmly. Looking at his subordinate, He simply says it was a good job. Then he appears in front of Chan Seok and asks if he realizes what he's done. He explains that Ji-hyun will now live in a wheelchair with no muscle strength. Warning that he needs him alive, the captain says just breathing is enough. Chan Seok defies him, saying he'd rather die than become his puppet. Deciding to retreat, the captain says he needs to understand the principle behind that flame. Even as he leaves, he states that his plan to control the rifts has succeeded. Then he warns that one day Yu Chan Seok will also be under his control. Disappearing completely, he leaves a final warning that it is inevitable. Defeated for now, he just laments that the situation ended this way. Irritated, he complains about getting involved with someone with such a bad temper. Approaching him, Han Sang-ah asks if those guys were after his ability. She then suggests they might know something about his past. Asking her to think carefully, he questions the group's true objectives. Then, it clicks for her, and she wonders about the Korean government's reaction. Yu Chan Seok raises the possibility that they are receiving direct support from the government. Unsure of what to do, she asks if they should clear the rift anyway. She confesses she's not good at lying, and he says he figured as much. Decisively, he says he'll handle the situation alone and asks her to wait. A little worried, she asks if he's okay with her not following him. Looking back, he warns her that she has no idea what has been done. He then says he'll find out everything as soon as he gets there. Jumping into the rift, he tells her to rest and recover until he returns. Without hesitation, he dives alone into the complete darkness of the corrosion rift. Arriving at the new location, he finds himself before a huge, ancient temple. Inside the structure, he observes the mysterious, fog-filled environment. Approaching, he touches the surface of one of the large wooden doors. He then confirms that this place is a Z-grade corrosion rift. Analyzing the structure, he notes that everything seems terribly solid here. Taking a deep breath, he feels a strange energy piercing his lungs. Looking at a sealed door, he realizes the rift's core is right behind it. Even though he dislikes the thought, he prepares for the coming battle. He understands that any carelessness here could mean his immediate end. At that moment, the large door in front of him finally begins to open. Entering the room, he finds a strange cauldron with a green fire in its center. Surprised by the sight, he wonders if that's really a cauldron. He then questions if that object could be the core of the corrosion rift. Noting it's different than expected, he sees a hand emerging from the cauldron. His eye widens completely as he sees the figure emerging from within the fire. On the floor, a man desperately begs him to save him from this place. From inside the cauldron, a strange, slimy creature slowly begins to emerge. Screaming in pain, the man says his legs are gone and begs for help. He is then dragged toward the cauldron, still trying to cry for help. Grabbed by several tentacles, he is pulled into the green liquid. Disappearing into the liquid, his last cries for help are completely muffled. Immediately after, a hand grips the edge of the cauldron forcefully. From it emerges a new corrosion creature, letting out a guttural and terrifying grunt. He then realizes the cauldron was creating undead by using living people. The scene triggers a quick flashback to a traumatic event from his past. Looking at an explosion, he remembers hearing the screams of people begging for help. Back in the present, the sight nauseates him, making him cover his mouth. Emerging, the creature from the cauldron says that humans are disgusting and filthy beings. Turning to him, it stares him down, calling him just another simple sacrifice. But it notices he's strange, very different from the previous sacrifices it has received. Analyzing him, it says it feels a strong and familiar energy coming from the young man. Finally revealed, the spirit says that this is the energy of a true warrior. Telling him to draw his weapon, the spirit challenges him to a fight. He then warns that he will temper his own blade with his blood. Feeling the pressure, he wonders how the captain managed to control that monster. The spirit tells him to focus on the fight that's about to begin. He then warns that any carelessness in his presence will be fatal. Prepared, Chan Seok takes a deep breath, ready to begin the battle against the spirit. The spirit states that carelessness before him results in certain death. He can barely react to the first attack, which narrowly misses him. Surprised by his speed, the spirit remarks that his lifeline is a long one. Knowing how to deal with the enemy, he prepares to end it all. He then lunges forward to end the fight with a single, decisive blow. Seeing the attack, the spirit's eye glows, awaiting the young man's move. Using his weapon, the spirit prepares to block the incoming attack, but his strike is easily stopped, surprising the young warrior. Seeing his attack blocked, he is shocked by the spirit's strength. In disbelief, he doesn't understand how his ultimate attack was blocked so easily. He says the most unbelievable part was not even seeing the block. With his sword in hand, the spirit begins to explain his speed. He then states that a truly fast attack, by its very nature, should not be seen. Counterattacking in an instant, he lands a deep cut on the young man's chest. Feeling the pain, he wonders how the enemy can be even faster. The spirit says he's good at dodging vital points as he prepares a new strike. With several simultaneous strikes, he dares him to try and block the next attack. Hit head on, he feels the impact, spitting blood from the pain. After the attack, the spirit sheathes his sword, observing his opponent. Fallen on the ground, Yu Chan-seok stares at the spirit, completely drained of strength. Dropping his weapon, he activates the power of the paradoxical flame in his hand. He realizes the flame has no effect on a non-living being like him. Seeing this, the spirit comments that this is quite a series of surprises. Curious, he says he wants to find out what it will take to finally defeat him. Struck head-on, he feels the brutal impact of the spirit's blow. He then realizes the attack tore through every muscle in his body. Though badly injured, he backs away as the spirit readies his weapon again. Preparing a counterattack, he says he almost lost consciousness for a moment, but for some reason, he notices the blow didn't hit his shoulders. Using the flame, he heals his muscles and moves behind the enemy. Now in position, he wonders if this might be his only chance to win. Seeing the movement, the spirit faces him, reminding him that he'd already warned him. With a mocking tone, he simply states that the young man is too slow. Twisting his body, he lands a precise cut, severing Chan-seok's arm. After the attack, drops of blood begin to drip onto the stone floor. Kneeling on the ground, he glares at the spirit, who watches him with an air of superiority. With no strength left to continue, he just gasps, feeling the pain of the wound. Still, he manages a defiant smile for his opponent. Unleashing everything, he prepares to use his ultimate power to win the fight. Far away, the spirit floats in the air, staring at the young man on the ground. Seeing the recovery, the spirit is completely surprised by what's happening. Just then, dark flames cover his body, restoring his energy and healing his wounds. Intrigued, he says the young man has a peculiar ability, unlike any other. With a smile, he confirms that the flame is capable of burning concepts. He explains that although it seems to have infinite power, that's not quite the case. He continues, saying that greater concepts demand much more mana and also proficiency. Remembering the fight, he had to be careful not to burn away his muscular strength. Comparing himself to the past, he says his former self was much stronger. Decisively, he realizes it's no longer time to save his power. With a serious look, he warns that he's going to burn away the entire durability of the place. Confused, the spirit asks what he means by burning its durability. Stating that he has explained enough, he simply makes a gesture with his hand. Feeling the effect, the spirit's eyes widen as it senses the imminent attack. In pain, it clutches its chest, not understanding what's happening. Smiling, he tells the spirit to try and figure it out while taking a beating. He then explains he was curious to see how far he could go. Then the spirit announces they will take the fight elsewhere. The scene changes as the temple roof begins to tremble and break apart. Suddenly, the entire place starts to crumble into pieces. Falling amidst the rubble, the two face each other during the descent. Immediately after, a massive explosion sends everything flying. Getting up from the ground, the spirit prepares to attack the young man again. With a swift attack, it lunges forward, but the young man manages to block the blow. Forcing the block, their weapons grind against each other violently. Without giving in, he continues to hold back the spirit's attack with all his might. Seizing the opportunity, he manages to push the spirit back to gain some distance. In the motion, the spirit's silhouette is cut by a clean strike. The scenery shifts. They are now in a completely rocky and deserted place. Above them, a large planet can be seen in the perfectly clear sky. Falling all around, pieces of rock fill the destroyed landscape. Just then, a point of light appears on one of the falling rocks. Emerging from within the rock, he propels himself upward with force. Flying at high speed, he leaves a long trail of destruction behind him. Meanwhile, the spirit floats, watching its opponent's swift approach. Facing the attack, it holds its position in the air to defend. Then he prepares a powerful kick, concentrating all his energy into the blow. With the kick, several projectiles are fired directly at the spirit. Receiving the hit, the spirit is struck head-on by the entire barrage. Thrown backward, it is hurled forcefully against the rocky ground. Upon touching the ground, it questions what that energy is beneath its feet. Then it says it has never encountered this before, not even on battlefields. Getting up, the spirit asks the young man what he truly is. Seeing a new attack form, it becomes completely paralyzed on the spot. Right in front of it, a glowing symbol appears, ready to explode at any moment. Advancing, he delivers a final blow with his weapon against the spirit. The attack's energy then envelops the spirit, trapping it in place. Trapped by the energy, the spirit screams, feeling the power of the continuous attack. Unable to escape, it continues to scream, as it's consumed by the young man's technique. Under the pressure, the core in its chest finally begins to crack. From a distance, a new creature observes the battle, standing still and waiting for the right moment. Preparing to strike, the creature lunges toward them at high speed. Arriving in the blink of an eye, the creature attacks Chan Seok with impressive speed. Hit, he is thrown backward, taking the full impact of the surprise attack. But in the same instant, the creature is also struck by a blow. With a savage grin, the two face each other, seeming to enjoy the fight. Maintaining their smiles, they stare each other down as the battle's intensity only grows. The scene changes to a crater filled with a strange energy. Suddenly, all the energy accumulated in the crater explodes with immense force. In a flashback, someone asks what he would do against an unbeatable opponent. In a flashback, the young man asks how he would handle an equal warrior. Even knowing the question isn't interesting, he continues the conversation with the hero. Then the hero repeats his point about an opponent he couldn't defeat alone. He then imagines what would happen if someone with power equal to his own appeared. With a serious look, the hero says the answer to that is obvious. Back in the present, he remembers the hero saying that only one would come out alive. Just then, the creature begins to dissolve, completely defeated by his technique. With its body vanishing completely, the monster finally disappears from that strange place. With a smile, he says one thing is certain and declares himself the strongest. Falling to the ground, the spirit weapon shatters, marking the end of the fight. Watching the enemy's body disappear, he stands up, victorious after the battle. Right after his victory, a reward chest appears right in front of him. Approaching it, he says the chest looks just like the ones from the other world. With a quick move, he opens the chest to claim his reward. Picking up the item, he wonders if it's a spear, finding it too short. Holding the weapon, he seems to get an idea about its true ability. Suddenly, the weapon extends, transforming into a real spear. He then realizes its length can be extended using his mana. Remembering the rules, he knows that the rewards depend on the number of people. Thinking about this, he regrets not bringing Han Sang-ah to get her share. Suddenly, he wonders if his partner's sword is still in one piece. Cutting to a new scene, Han Sang-ah is seen sleeping peacefully in a bed. Still asleep, she seems to be recovering from her battle wounds. Elsewhere, a white-haired man manages to block a powerful attack. Waking up suddenly, she calls out for Yu Chan Seok, still a bit confused. Already on his feet, he tosses her a new sword, telling her she can keep it. Seeing the weapon, she thanks him, commenting that the sword is very well maintained. She then asks where he found the sword and if he's okay. Announcing he's going to rest, he collapses to the ground, completely exhausted from the fight. Looking at him, she realizes he's passed out, something she does too. Off-screen, a narrator explains the power difference between levels. Changing the scene, some people on the street are talking about the rookie hunter. On the streets, several large screens show the face of Chan Seok, who has become a celebrity. With his phone in hand, he complains that he can't even see his messages. Looking out the window, he laments that he can no longer walk around outside peacefully. Just then, a woman introduces herself as Jia Sujong from the Embargo Tower. As she enters the room, he thanks her for covering his hospital bills. She then asks him to let her know if he feels any discomfort there. Seeing the costs, he asks what she really wants in return for all this. Asking to get straight to the point, he tells her not to waste any more time. With a smile, she offers him a piece of cake and asks if he likes sweets. Cutting to a new scene, a shield generator is shown with its full description. After the presentation, a strawberry cake is shown on the table. Eating the cake, he understands the mission is to transport the generator. She explains that the device can bring relief to more distant areas. Listening to her explanation, he stares at her with a serious, focused gaze. He asks if the request is large-scale, and she confirms that it is. Upon learning that Janabi will be helping, he realizes this is serious business. She then explains that the generator will be transported by train. Asked about the destination, she explains the influence of one of the Great Eights. She continues, saying that the United Kingdom is the only safe place right now. Explaining the situation in Europe, she says that corporations have taken control there. He then concludes that many people will try to attack the train during the journey. She asks about his travels, and he says this will be his first time in Europe. With a smile, she says she'll be one of the people on the mission. While eating, he says it's good to have a familiar face around on the mission. Picking up a fork, he says he has one condition for accepting the proposal. He explains that he wants Han Sang-ah to accompany them, as he made a promise. Thanking him for saying that, she comments that his request isn't a bad thing for her. Extending his hand, he says he looks forward to working with her on this. Changing the scene, a helicopter lands on top of a large building in the city. Getting out of the helicopter, he comments on the difference of facing a Z-rank rift. An older man says that his expectations have turned into certainty with his achievement. Satisfied, he says it's good to hear that, and that proving his abilities helps. Looking back, he wonders if the boss knows about the others. He then wonders if the boss would want to maintain it or end it all. Opening the door, he's surprised by the person on the other side. Sitting down, Lee Si-yoon says it's been a while since they last met. She then comments that the rumors about him have spread everywhere. Watching the helicopter take off, he asks where they're going, hearing that it's a base. He then comments that the generator's success would reduce the dependency on hunters. Confirming she knows the group, she says she encountered them during the mission. At that, she explains that they always show up to interfere with the hunters' missions. Remembering the enemy, he says he understands perfectly what she's talking about. She then observes him for a moment, keeping her gaze serious and fixed. Then, she holds out her hand and offers him a piece of candy, which he takes immediately. Surprised, he looks at the pumpkin candy and asks why she gave it to him. Moving closer, she asks if he has ever traveled to another country. With a thoughtful look, she starts to say that this mission probably will. As the helicopter flies, she finishes her sentence saying that he will realize many things. The young warrior charges forward with his spear, striking down monsters in the snow. Impressed, the other hunters remark that it makes no sense for a rookie to defeat so many monsters alone. Right after, the butt of his weapon slams firmly into the snow-covered ground. Observing the quiet, the boy murmurs that this should be enough to take care of everything. Looking back, he notices his companions are already exhausted at the very start of the mission. Thinking about fighting solo, the young man hears a voice commanding everyone to get up immediately. The woman warns her companions that the mission isn't over, and no one should lower their guard. Hearing this, the boy smirks, thinking that only Han Sang-ah is actually useful around here. Suddenly, the young man turns curiously as he catches a strange noise coming from down the path. Taking in the scene, Sang-ah watches the structure collapse and asks what that is. While the boy wonders if it's an avalanche, Control alerts them to an obstacle ahead. Immediately, Lee Si-yoon contacts Control directly through her communicator. She then firmly demands that the train be stopped this instant. Gazing at the blockage ahead, Si-yoon warns everyone that it's the enemy. Right after, a devastating impact hits the structure, sending debris flying everywhere. Under the force of the impact, the train's metallic frame takes severe damage. Facing the imminent danger, the young warrior raises his greatsword to block the attack. Immediately after, a powerful red beam fires, triggering a completely devastating explosion. Meanwhile, the armed creature hovers in the air, raining attacks on the warriors below. Confused by the situation, Sang-ah asks who those men are and how they arrived so fast. Right then, the boy tells her to stay calm and explains it's Nikolai's armed gang. Looking at the crowd, Se-yoon wonders if the enemies were already lying in wait for them. At that moment, several talismans covered in mystic symbols fly rapidly through the freezing air. Right after, the girl activates her magic to raise a barrier against the advance. However, noticing an unexpected threat ahead, she is stunned by what she sees. Suddenly, a powerful electrical surge sparks, destroying all the magic talismans. With that, energy rips through the air at high speed, slicing through the defense in seconds. Noticing her magic cut off, Sang-ah watches in silence, unable to comprehend what happened. Without hesitating, the woman activates her comms and asks if Lee Si-yoon needs backup. With a static-filled voice, Se-yoon replies over the radio, warning that something seems to have gone wrong. She realizes her powers have been completely sealed by that mysterious barrier. At that moment, a general broadcast over the radio requests the immediate attention of all hunters. The message warns of a flank attack and announces that Lee Si-yoon is out of commission. Next, the announcement reveals 500 enemies, outnumbering them 10-1. Even with their commander incapacitated, the radio orders them not to retreat and to defend the train. The final order commands them to hunt down all invaders without showing any mercy in battle. Wasting no time, the boy tells Han Sang-ah to follow him, and she agrees, surprised by the command. Seeing the pair charge forward, the other hunters are shocked by the overwhelming odds. Driven by the duo's courage, one hunter decides to fight, declaring he won't leave rookies on their own. Still trapped in the barrier, Lee Si-yoon assures them she will return to the fight as soon as possible. Right then, the enemy in front of her replies, warning her that won't be easy at all. Glancing back, the girl asks if that seal was the work of that strange man. The man introduces himself as Lee Ha-yun and reveals he shares her lineage. Smirking, he claims to be her distant nephew and celebrates finding family so far from home. Suddenly, a resounding crack echoes through the frozen air as the energy fluctuates again. With that loud crack, the sword's blade completely shatters under the pressure of the barrier. Staring at the shards, Se-yun looks at her broken weapon, asking if the hit really destroyed it. Seeing this, Ha-yun taunts her, suggesting she surrender now that she's disarmed. Unfazed, the girl asks why he's making such a big drama over a sword. At that exact moment, a magical glow surges from her ring, restoring the destroyed weapon in seconds. Witnessing the miracle, the man clicks his tongue, clearly annoyed by her quick recovery. With her sword rebuilt, Lee Se-yun smiles and asks if he recognizes the legendary gear. The special artifact instantly duplicates any registered equipment the moment it breaks in battle. Taunting her rival, the young woman fires back against his claim that she was being crude trying to break the barrier. Raising her blade with force, she warns him that if he keeps talking in that irritating way, then Se-yun attacks fiercely, declaring he'll never be popular with women. As the fight rages on, thunderous booms echo across the snow-covered field. Hearing the commotion, the young warrior's eyes widen as he senses something emerging above. Hovering over the area, Nikolai shouts, asking if they really thought they could fight with so few numbers. He then orders them to drop their weapons and surrender if they want a chance to live. Watching the enemy, the boy asks if that's Nikolai, while Sang-ah explains the armor. She then reveals the military canceled the project due to a lack of rare materials. Listening to the explanation, the boy wonders how it ended up in the hands of the Russian boss. Swallowing hard, the girl hesitates, wondering if she can truly bring herself to kill people in this dangerous fight. Noticing her hesitation, the boy suggests she fall back if she can't bring herself to fight humans. Claiming he hasn't fought humans either, the girl compares the enemies to monsters. While listening to her answer, the young man notices the first enemy soldiers approaching fast. Without a second thought, the girl lands a powerful kick, launching her opponent into the snow. Watching the violent attack, the young warrior advises her never to let guilt consume her. With a cold glare, he states that unpleasant feeling will fade away in just a few weeks. The young man hears desperate screams echoing through the snowstorm. Right after, he hears the violent clash of weapons in intense combat. Blood flows continuously as the howling wind carries pure chaos. Facing such a violent scene, the boy simply mutters that he finds it all completely disgusting. Then, the youth admits he feels quite comfortable in that place, being nothing more than trash. Hearing the sounds of battle, the boy locks his focused gaze onto the open field. He realizes that despite their superior skills, being outnumbered is forcing them to retreat. Thinking fast, the boy sees only one way to turn the tide. The only way to save the group is to directly eliminate the enemy commander. Noticing his approach, Nikolai recognizes the youth and asks if he's the Korean rookie. Sarcastic, the young man replies, surprised that even a Russian thug has heard of him. Instantly, a heavy weapon strike swings violently at the young warrior. Mocking the fight, Nikolai claims the kid isn't special and insults Korea. Analyzing the enemy's defenses, the boy realizes that armor won't shatter easily. Observing his tough opponent, the youth knows victory won't come easy. Leaping with agility, the young warrior strikes, declaring things have changed since his last mission. With the force of the blow, surrounding snow kicks up as his opponent stumbles back heavily. Fixing a glare on his rival, Nikolai harshly insults him after taking the hit. Charging at full speed, the Russian commander roars that he'll finish him in a single blow. Dodging out of the way, the young man questions why his rival is holding back. He then wonders if the previous attack was meant solely to stop the train. Facing the enemy advance, the boy wonders if they knew who would be on this mission. Planting his feet in the snow, the young man suspects something is off with such coordinated enemies. Bracing against the direct hit, the young warrior concludes there's too much wrong with this ambush. Noticing flames enveloping his armor, Nikolai demands to know what it is. Seizing the opening in his defense, the boy explains he's going to burn right through that protection. Delivering a swift slash, the young man declares he'll end this fight immediately. Watching the armor crack under the violent impact, Nikolai mutters while glaring at his opponent. The commander then screams, calling the young warrior a filthy rat as he attacks. Without hesitation, the boy unleashes a continuous 16-hit combo, slicing through the freezing air. With a devastating impact, the precise strike hits Nikolai's heavy armor dead on. Reeling from the blow, the commander's eyes widen as he sees the damage to his gear. Seeing his armor pierced, Nikolai realizes he needs to fall back immediately. Then, The man begs him to stop the attack, offering to help free the girl. Ignoring his words, the sharp blade cuts swiftly through the freezing air. With a precise strike, the powerful blow instantly splits the enemy's armor in two. Looking down at his fallen adversary, the boy simply replies that he doesn't make deals. Raising his spear firmly, the young man states he doesn't need any help. At that moment, the barrier shatters into pieces as a firm step emerges from the seal. Watching the scene unfold, the enemy soldiers stare, completely clueless about what just happened. Seeing this, some men smirk, believing the girl isn't a major threat yet. With a slight smile, the boy remarks that his companion can handle everything on her own. At that very instant, Lee Si-eun glares at her rivals as her magic envelops the entire area. In the distance, the train remains stalled on the tracks, surrounded by snow and intense fighting. As the strong wind blows, dozens of defeated soldiers lie scattered across the stained snow. Meanwhile, several men in black suits observe the activity around the train in the snow. With a broad smile, Lee Se-yoon praises the young man's great performance and hands him another small candy. Watching closely, Yu Chan-seok wonders if the sealer is a descendant of the legendary Dangun. The young hunter then explains that the woman fled as soon as her seal was released. Unwrapping the candy, Chan-seok leaves the two men beside him, utterly speechlessly surprised. The young man calmly replies he's just eating, while the others ask why he would do that. Outraged by his unexpected action, the men ask how Chan-seok can even eat that, and if he's lost his mind. Watching the curious scene, Se-yoon comments that he's probably the only one capable of eating it. When he asks what others do with the treat, the boy learns that everyone else just flexes it. Staring off to the side, Yu Chan-seok silently notices something very suspicious happening in the snow. The young warrior observes the soldiers around the broken armor and wonders if they're trying to retrieve it. Analyzing the situation, Chan-seok recalls that Nikolai obtained a special armor made by the Korean military itself. Because of this, he considers that a powerful faction must exist, completely ignoring the local government. Taking a close look at the military personnel, Chan-seok considers the possibility that the army itself supports the dangerous villain. Finally, the boy wonders if he can truly trust any of the soldiers present. In the distance, a massive eastern fortress appears, built amidst the tree-covered mountains. Walking slowly through the place, the man staggers heavily as he tries to keep his balance. Leaning against the wall, the man mutters under his breath that he ended up using way too much mana. Seeing the captain approach, the young man calls out to him and receives praise for his good work. Apologizing for his failure, the young man is told that it was just a minor setback in the process. Telling the youth to focus on his recovery without being a coward, the leader receives a deeply respectful thanks. The boss then tells him to pull himself together as an elevator descends into the basement. Inside the elevator, the man reflects that he never expected those two allies to be defeated back to back. Recalling Yu Chan-seok, the man claims he would have killed him if he knew his magic pattern. Shortly after, the elevator's metallic doors slide open, indicating their arrival on the third basement floor. Entering the room filled with computers, the leader immediately calls for Dr. Seo Gyun-woo. Eating in his chair, the scientist turns around and asks the visitor the reason for his visit. When asked about the project's progress, the scientist answers that he still needs more time. Even though the doctor asks for a bigger budget, the visitor tells him not to worry and just hurry up. Reassuring his ally, the man guarantees that the hunter's journey to Siberia is still long. While the men in suits talk behind him, Yu Chan-seok turns his gaze back to the side. Meanwhile, the train speeds along the snow-covered tracks. In the control room, a soldier reports losing a third of their forces in battle. Hearing the report, Lee Se-yoon listens in silence to the battle's toll. She then orders first aid for the wounded and requests contact with Warsaw before arrival. When questioned, the soldier explains that the faction controlling Poland is called Mazurka. Lee Se-yoon orders contact with the affiliated guild, demanding full cooperation along the route. Worried about the response, the man wonders if they'll really cooperate so easily. With a firm gaze, she states they'll be forced to help if they want future support. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the imposing headquarters of the Esprit Hunters Guild. Walking through the hall, a man is surprised to hear about the requested cooperation. Reacting with irritation, Robert Digna demands to reject it, asking who they think they are. The other hunter warns him of her strength, saying a refusal without reason is risky. Unbothered, Digna retorts she's just a hunter and questions such blind obedience. Without flinching, the man yells back that he's fully prepared to obey if necessary. Outraged by this attitude, Digna insults him, claiming she only takes missions for money. Looking back, the man notices a large crowd of guild members staring in his direction. Taking in the scene, Digna asks in a raised voice why everyone is gathered there. Staring him down, a female hunter states she'd rather pay the fine and leave the guild if they refuse. Amid the protest, the man insists she is nothing more than just another average hunter. Interrupting him, another hunter states the commander is a completely different story. He explains he only became a hunter thanks to the financial and medical support she provided. Approaching him, a colleague whispers to Robert that the company will go bankrupt if so many leave at once. Advised to apologize and accept the request, Digna yells out in anger against the commander. In truth, the man wonders just how far the true reach of her influence goes. Looking out the window, Se-yoon mutters to herself that the wounded are in worse shape than expected. Calculating 5 more days to Warsaw, she wonders if everyone will manage to hold on. With a focused look, she just hopes not to run into any more delays during the trip. Suddenly, an urgent broadcast alerts all hunters about erosion entities. The announcement adds that a slime-like creature is actively pursuing them. The comms then repeat the alert, ordering everyone to prepare for battle. Terrified by the warning, the men question the monster's presence and tell everyone to get on the roof. Gripping her weapon, Lee Se-eun curses, wondering why a monster would appear here of all places. As the radio urges calm, the young man curiously asks what that creature actually is. She explains the entity comes from Bratsk, leaving him impressed by its high level. Questioning the distance, the hunter asks how it found them over 600 kilometers away. Climbing onto the roof, Lee Se-eun warns that the zone expanded, making combat difficult. Walking along the roof, the boy asks if those creatures are truly that dangerous. In response, Lee Se-eun explains that any contact instantly freezes and destroys equipment. As the sniper readies his aim, she warns of an even more terrifying danger. Right after, the order to fire is given, and the hunters release their arrows. At high speed, the magic projectiles cut through the freezing air straight toward the floating creatures. Seeing the shots fail, the hunter realizes some monsters possess magic resistance. Analyzing the situation, the young man concludes neither normal arrows nor magic will work on them. Desperate, the man screams that the train will be overrun before they can escape the area. Watching the situation grimly, Lee Se-eun declares the mission a complete failure. Hearing this, the archer says in disbelief that this can't be happening right here. At that moment, Yoo Chan-seok watches the creatures approach as his companion appears behind him. Approaching the shooter, the young man asks if he can try taking a shot too. As the man tries to teach him proper form, the boy snaps back that he'll try it his own way. Noticing his attitude, Lee Se-eun calls his name while watching his moves closely. Drawing the bowstring, the boy notices the attacks failing due to the magic resistance. He concludes he just needs to completely burn away that defense to beat them right now. Fired with immense speed, the arrow strikes the creature, shattering its powerful magic defense. Upon impact, the monster begins to completely disintegrate under the intense flames. Moments later, the entity's body collapses, scattering its shards everywhere. Stunned by the sight, the archers shout out, unable to comprehend how magic resistance was nullified. Surveying the field, Yoo Chan-seok reflects it'd be easy to cover everything, but he couldn't control the flames. Handing the weapon back, the youth tells the shooter to attack as soon as the flames die down. Observing it all, Lee Se-eun ponders the boy's ability and concludes he is a total enigma. Noticing the broken resistance, Lee Se-eun dashes forward across the top of the train. As the train speeds forward, the giant creature leaps onto the structure, terrifying the hunters. Seeing the perfect opportunity, the hunter excitedly celebrates, claiming they can finally defeat the creature. Next, the man warns Lee Se-eun that only one creature remains, charging right at the train. Faced with the urgent warning, the girl's eyes widen as she watches the threat rapidly approach. Looking up, the hunter warns that the monster has jumped and orders everyone to take cover. Analyzing the danger, Lee Se-eun considers that her sword would shatter if she tried to cut something so massive. Gripping his spear tightly, the young man wonders if there's any strike capable of saving everyone. Looking back, the commander reflects that taking down a monster of that size seems completely impossible. Raising his weapon with power, Yoo Chan-seok concludes that the answer to the problem is simple. Unleashing a devastating blow, he declares that you just have to turn the entire creature to dust in seconds. Awestruck by that incredible attack, Lee Se-eun smiles as she watches the impossible become reality right before her eyes. As the battle comes to an end, Han Sang-ah simply watches the young man in silence, her eyes fixed on him. Feeling the frozen remains, the hunter complains about the cold, while everyone stares at Yoo Chan-seok in disbelief. Sheathing his spear on his back, the boy mutters to himself that he prefers the cola flavor. With a soft smile, Chan-seok reinforces his preference for sweets, while demonstrating the power to save the world. Moving along the frozen tracks, the train under Lee Se-yoon's command heads to Poland. With that, a radio announcement confirms a 3-day stop to treat the wounded. Upon learning that the local faction agreed to cooperate, Lee Se-yoon replies that it's a relief. Soon after, the soldier asks if any leaders other than that faction responded regarding cooperation. Hearing this, the commander answers that there was no response and tells them to keep trying to establish contact. Upon arriving at the station in Warsaw, the hunters comment that they were already planning to stay there. Looking around, Yoo Chan-seok remarks that he heard Poland used to be much more prosperous. Faced with so much destruction around the place, he wonders about the true state of that region. Observing the scene closely, the boy points out that the station has turned into a den of corpses. Noticing the lack of vegetation, Chan-seok asks if they devoured the plants and burned the remains. Seeing Lee Se-yoon so calm, the boy asks if that is something common for them. At that moment, a man approaches the young man and asks if he is Yoo Chan-seok. Hearing him speak Korean, the guy listens as non-commissioned officer Joseph Polanski reveals his rank and faction. Next, the officer announces that he will guide everyone directly to their new quarters. Meanwhile, an elegant car travels down the destroyed road under the region's cloudy sky. Looking out the window, the young man figures the quarters were assigned based on everyone's importance. Then, the officer turns around and asks if he really works as a freelance hunter. Getting straight to the point, the man notices his lack of ties and suggests he work in Poland. The officer adds that he will hold great power, while the young man questions the true meaning of that word. Continuing his pitch, the man says he knows about the many image-related restrictions faced in Korea. Then, the soldier guarantees to deliver absolutely anything the hunter wishes to receive in the region. Faced with so many promises, Yoo Chan-seok stares intently, contemplating whether he should punch him. Later, the setting sun illuminates the building where the team was housed in the city. Entering the room, the young man closes the door, observing the simple space before him. Walking slowly, the guy quietly complains, noting that the place looks like a cheap motel. Looking at the bathroom, the boy admits that at least the facilities look clean enough to use. Standing before the table, he questions if they expect him to live solely on instant food here. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door, asking aloud if Yoo Chan-seok is in the room. Opening the door, Han Sang-ah appears at the entrance and greets the boy quite calmly. Looking down, the girl then murmurs that she just had a simple question. As the shower water runs, the sound of bathing softly echoes throughout the bathroom. Under the stream, Han Sang-ah takes advantage of the break to relax after the battle. She apologizes for barging in, and the young man replies that it's fine between acquaintances. Then, Yoo Chan-seok asks if he can ask a question, and the girl promptly gives him permission. Hearing this, the young woman questions why all the supplies there are from Korea. Curious about the situation, the hunter waits in silence for a detailed explanation about the food. With a serious look, Chan-seok explains that this happens due to the Korean government's policies. The young man details that all global resources must be imported to Korean territory first. He adds that the surplus is resold, finding it surprising how other countries accept this peacefully. Next, the young man warns that going against Korea means losing the valuable help of the hunters. Yoo Chan-seok adds that survival requires accepting these absurd demands to ensure protection. Because of this, he notes that Europe ends up receiving only old, low-quality supplies. Staring straight ahead, the warrior reflects in silence on the harsh consequences of this cruel policy. From the shower, Han Sang-ah anxiously asks about the true state of the supplies sent on the train. Then, the girl asks if the cargo under her protection consists of sprouted potatoes. In response, Yoo Chan-seok reveals that the train supplies are just reprocessed powder mixed together. Surprised by the explanation, Han Sang-ah repeats the strange name of that product without understanding a thing. Then, the guy explains that the food is made from ground-up and dehydrated organic waste. Faced with the shocking revelation, the boy remains silent while the young woman processes the truth. Outraged, Han Sang-ah questions why Korea doesn't send higher-quality supplies. To that, Yoo Chan-seok states that valuable food would never reach the people who actually need it. Looking at the container, the young man asks whose mouths that valuable food would end up in. He then explains that warlords would steal the food to buy weapons. Looking at his own scarred hand, the young man silently recalls the marks of his past. Reflecting on this, Chan-seok concludes that this world is even more rotten than the other one. He realizes there is a secret organization manipulating the crises to keep the world in ruins. With a firm grip, the boy crushes the package while deciding what stance he should take. Approaching suddenly, Yoo Chan-seok calls out to his companion, startling the girl instantly. Then, the guy asks if he can ask a question, and the girl responds quite nervously. Without hesitating, the young man asks which is the nearest enemy faction that refused to cooperate. Next, hurried footsteps echo loudly over the frozen ground during the advance. Not understanding the commotion, leader Daniel Lewis asks what is happening at the scene. The subordinate explains that the Korean guy, Yoo Chan-seok, is attacking and demanding answers about their cooperation. Hearing this, the commander demands that he stop immediately under threat of being reported to the association. Ignoring the warning, the young man lands another punch on the group's soldier. Faced with the assault, the man screams, asking if the young man really has a death wish. Fallen on the ground, the soldier warns that he had better kill him properly if he's going to do it. Then, Chan-seok replies that this is the only way for the enemy to survive. Meanwhile, the narrative shifts to the imposing royal castle in the city of Warsaw. Firm footsteps echo through the elegant hallways as the visitor approaches the room. Opening the doors, the young man calmly excuses himself as he enters. Without looking directly at the door, Lee Se-yoon mentions that she's quite busy at the moment. She then tells the visitor to get straight to the point without wasting time. Stepping up to the desk, the young man reveals that Dangun's descendants are trying to control the erosion. Hearing that he found this out on the island, Se-yoon asks why he took so long to report it. Confronted by her demand, the young man simply stares at her in complete silence. As she gathers the papers from the desk, the commander notes that he seems to have made his decision. The guy admits he doesn't get along with them, while she praises him for making the right choice. Just then, the communicator notifies Lee Se-yoon of Han Sang-ah's arrival. Looking at the young man, the commander asks if he and Sang-ah carried out that mission together. As Han Sang-ah walks in, Se-yoon remarks that she probably had the same idea he did. Taking in the whole scene, Sang-ah admits she could hardly believe the situation in Warsaw. In response, Lee Se-yoon asks if Korea is truly blind to the reality of other countries. With a grim look, Sang-ah declares she can't accept this and asks what they should do. To that, Se-yoon coldly replies there's nothing to be done, as it isn't their mission. The young man then warns that they're swamped with work and need to focus solely on their assignment. Suddenly, the boy raises his hand and announces he has something important to say. Upon hearing the proposal, the commander asks if he will negotiate with the leaders his own way. Concerned about his methods, she listens as Chan-seok suggests crushing the enemies with brute force. In response, she explains that he can't act like that because of his public image. At that, the young man states he will act as an independent hunter to take a firm stance. Thoughtful, Se-yoon recognizes the plan is extreme, but admits there's no other option right now. As he leaves the room, the boy promises to resolve everything before the supply distribution ends. Worried about the danger, Sang-ah offers to tag along, but he turns her down. Once in the hallway, he requests a helicopter, mentioning it will take about an hour to get there. With a slight smile, the young man says goodbye, telling them they'll meet again in Germany. Meanwhile, the enemy leaders believed the young man's energy levels were nothing out of the ordinary. Because of this, the rival warriors were confident that superior numbers would be enough to defeat the Korean hunter. Suddenly, an overwhelming blast of energy explodes, sending multiple enemy soldiers flying. The resulting shockwave expands, knocking down everyone trying to surround the young man. With an unwavering glare, the young warrior tells the rival leader to make his final choice already. Facing the threat, Daniel Lewis asks if they will talk things out or fight to the death. Taking in the scene, the commander simply questions how the boy keeps moving without spending any mana. Turning around, the man yells at the top of his lungs, asking his soldiers what they are doing. At the order, the mercenaries ready their weapons and receive the immediate command to fire. Before they can react, Daniel Lewis's eyes widen as he notices his rival's speed. In the blink of an eye, Yoo Chan-seok appears from behind, putting him in a tight chokehold. Holding the subdued enemy, the boy demands he make a choice while everyone stands in shock. Unable to break free, the man directly asks how he intends to handle the future consequences. Keeping a serious expression, the young man merely repeats the word consequences back to his new opponent. Without blinking for a second, the commander stares closely at the youth without moving a muscle. Looking deep into his eyes, Yoo Chan-seok bluntly states that he doesn't care about anything. Meanwhile, in the surrounding military camp, the guards keep watch under the cloudy sky. With that, the young man takes a big gulp of the drink in his cup. Wiping his mouth, Chan-seok complains that they said it was cola, but the taste was completely different. Hearing the complaint, the officer explains they drank it simply because it was easy to come by. Looking at the youth, the soldier adds that he hasn't had real cola in years. Observing the area, the boy notes that everything there was worse than in Poland itself. Placing his cup on the table, the man reports that the base has lost all government support. With a pitiful look, The officer vents that it was pathetic to see the limitations of his own country. Getting straight to the point, Chan Seok asks why they are refusing to cooperate with his train. In response, the man says they need the generator because of that organization called Ristorante. Hearing that name, the young man reflects on the Naples-based organization. Agitated, the soldier claims that the British crisis is nothing compared to their own struggle. Chan Seok explains that the generator is experimental, and refusing to cooperate will only delay their own shipment. Lowering his head, the man grumbles that he thought they were going to talk, but this wasn't a negotiation at all. Without hesitating, the boy tells the man to shut up and agree to cooperate right this instant. Staring down his rival, the officer questions his arrogance, claiming he has no other choice. Faced with this provocation, the young warrior violently smashes the glass cup on the table. As the glass shatters, the young man calmly warns that he wouldn't recommend going down that road. With blood dripping over the shards, the officer watches the scene, completely frozen and stunned. Intimidated, the soldier questions the deal, and Chansik replies that he's only acting as a middleman. Next, the officer asks if the commander sent him, but he denies it, citing her agonizingly slow pace. Agreeing with the reality of the situation, the soldier consents to contact the leader and tells the youth to leave. Without moving from his chair, the warrior states he's staying put, leaving the soldier flabbergasted. Explaining that he doesn't rely on verbal promises alone, the boy hears the officer question his accommodations. In response, Chan Seok reaches out and hands him a piece of candy as payment for his stay. Recognizing the cola candy, the soldier remarks on the peaceful life of Korean hunters. Watching closely, the youth listens as the soldier says they barely know if they'll survive tomorrow. Recalling that moment, his companion questions what the young man's next step in the mission will be. Looking at him, Han Sang-ah asks if he has a plan after this request is over. Lost in thought, the young warrior replies that he now fully understands just how ruined this world really is. Pulling back the curtain, Chan Seok assures the soldier that he'll end up thanking him for everything in the end. With a smile, the boy declares that he will save the world just to make him drink real cola again. In the square in front of Warsaw's royal castle, an anxious crowd gathers. Then, the guard managing the line orders the next citizen to step forward. As liquid rations are poured into the bowl, the guard demands they maintain the line. Staring at the meager dish, the man silently observes the foul food, unable to complain. Outraged by the watery soup, the resident protests indignantly as the guards order him to fall back. Angered by the situation, he criticizes the Koreans, prompting the officer to order his violent restraint. Facing the threat, the resident screams that they are just criminals, no better than the government. Suddenly, a gunshot echoes through the area, leaving the man completely frozen in shock. At the sound of the shot, the surrounding crowd screams in horror, asking if he was really killed. Reloading his weapon, the guard calmly announces they only used non-lethal rock salt rounds. The soldier then justifies the rationing and warns that force will be used against future riots. Realizing the ammunition isn't lethal, the residents conclude the guards pose no real danger. With the crowd advancing frantically for food, the soldiers call for urgent reinforcements over their radio. Meanwhile, at guild headquarters, phones ring incessantly amid stacks of paperwork. Checking the high number of casualties and forged documents, the hunter laments the lack of personnel. Surprised by the message, Lee Si-yoon demands the receptionist transfer the call immediately. Answering the call, the commander introduces herself and celebrates Yu Chan Seok's victory. Right after, the rival leader confirms he has accepted the group's request for cooperation. With that, the entire team finally arrives at the military faction's imposing station in Hamburg. Welcoming her, the veteran commander offers a greeting and mentions that the envoy was quite peculiar. Greeting the local leader, Lee Si-yoon smiles and thanks him for accepting the requested cooperation. As the conversation takes place, the young man remains seated high above, watching the station tracks. Lost in thought, the youth holds a snowball while resting peacefully on the high beam. Floating closer, his companion curiously asks what he's doing way up in a place like that. Chan Seok explains he was patrolling the area, and the girl informs him that the leader is looking for him. At the warning, the young man's expression shifts as he stares at the horizon with a serious glare. Just as he's about to reply that he'd head over, the boy senses something strange and goes on high alert. Looking up, he spots the clock tower standing out beneath the clear sky. Suddenly, a sharp glare of light flashes quickly from the top of the tall structure. Catching the intense reflection, the other man blinks in surprise, completely baffled. Seeing the sight, the girl shouts, asking where Yu Chan Seok is rushing off to so fast. Leaping with extreme agility, the young warrior reaches the rooftop overlooking the city. Glancing around, the boy mutters that his target was in this exact spot. Chan Seok realizes his rival escaped using magic, but left a visible trail behind in the air. He then concludes he can track down his opponent simply by following that mysterious path. Observing the magical trail, the youth pinpoints where the energy is heading next. Looking upward, Chan Seok wonders if the enemy is actually hiding on the ceiling. At that exact moment, an attack from above strikes down with tremendous force, slicing through the air. Facing imminent danger, the boy looks up, preparing to counter the strike. With a resounding crash, his weapon blocks the violent assault, locking their blades in midair. Gripping his spear firmly, Chan Seok remarks that ripping through space like that is a first. Adjusting his hat, the opponent is impressed to see his location was discovered so quickly. The descendant of Dangun, Seok Jo-hum, warns that he must subdue the youth before leaving. Taunting his rival, Chan Seok sarcastically asks what kind of fighting style he plans to use with that. Unsheathing his blade, the opponent sharply replies that it isn't a walking cane. With a fierce shout, Seok Jo-hum reveals his weapon is a specialized blade. Under the sheer force of the blow, the building crumbles as the young man leaps into the air. Refocusing on the battle, the boy lets out a short grunt from the force of the clash. Next, their weapons cross at high speed as the young man barely dodges out of the way. Leaping high into the air, Chan Seok positions his spear to strike his opponent from above. Planting his foot firmly against the structure, his rival quickly braces himself to gain momentum. Watching the flawless dodge, Jo-hum notes that the boy strangely dodges every single attack. Adjusting his hat, the man cold-heartedly states that his opponent will have to try harder than that. Noticing a shift in his enemy's pattern, Chan Seok immediately considers the possibility. At that exact moment, an intense energy envelops the young man's feet as he moves swiftly. Noticing the completely unexpected maneuver, Seok Jo-hum's eyes widen in surprise at the charge. Descending with immense speed, the boy delivers a powerful vertical strike with his spear. To stop the rapid advance, his rival holds up a mystical paper imbued with magical energy. With that, the symbol glows intensely, creating a magical distortion around the warrior. Confronted by such a surprising technique, the rival wonders if his opponent just split into two. Surrounded by shields, Seok Jo-hum declares that the boy will never lay a finger on him. Hearing the taunt, Chan Seok's eyes widen as he realizes something about his rival's technique. With that, his rival's blade slashes forward quickly, unleashing a massive wave of cutting energy. Adjusting his stance, the young man mumbles that he's figured out two things about the current fight. Wiping the blood from his face, Chan Seok reveals that his first discovery involves the clones. While keeping his distance, the boy tracks his rival's movements through the cloud of dust. Mocking him, Seok Jo-hum claims that nothing can be done against him, but the boy disagrees. Because of this, Chan Seok stares down his rival in the middle of the street, keeping his distance. The young man then notices his opponent's speed has increased after reabsorbing the clones. With a cold glare, Jo-hum warns that he will end the boy's life with his next attack. Hearing the provocation, Chan Seok scoffs, saying no one has ever managed to nullify that mysterious technique. The young warrior then claims that his opponent was just unlucky to cross his path. Recalling his training, the boy concentrates all his energy directly into the tip of his spear. Facing this, the monster charges, attacking rapidly while phasing right through the other warrior's strikes. With a devastating impact, the explosion sends the fighters flying as the battle grows even more violent. Outraged by the fight, the hunter screams, asking how they're supposed to defeat enemies like these. Meanwhile, the creatures keep falling from above, taking zero damage from any of the attacks. Desperate, the warrior yells that their hits are passing right through the monsters. Analyzing the movement, the man notices his rival is using energy to move his real body. The hunter then demands to know how on earth they're supposed to counter the opponent's skill. Recalling the explanation, Chan Seok tightens his grip on the spear to time his attack perfectly. Adjusting his stance, the young warrior prepares the fatal blow to strike his opponent. With his gaze fixed under his hat, Jo-hum spots the rapid approach and tries to react. Locked in, the young warrior adjusts his attack speed mid-strike to hit his rival. Shocked by the sudden shift in momentum, his opponent's mouth drops in utter disbelief. Overwhelmed by the force of the hit, the man digs his blade into the ground to hold his footing. Unable to comprehend it, Jo-hum asks how the boy managed to reach him at such incredible speed. Looking up, the rival angrily asks who Chan Seok really is in the middle of this intense fight. Gripping his weapon tightly, the young warrior keeps a cold, unbothered expression during the clash. Under his hat, The rival watches closely, searching for any opening to escape the impending danger. With a resounding crash, their weapons collide as a massive blast lights up the urban backdrop. Startled by the noise, the boy looks back, wondering if that was an explosion. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jo Hoom mockingly remarks that his luck seems much better than the boy's. Right then, the comms kick in, ordering Yoo Chan-suk to abandon the chase immediately. Hearing about the gas bombs dropped in Hamburg, the boy reacts with complete shock. The alert warns that this lethal gas is extremely dangerous, turning the area into a living hell. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the youth calmly responds that he received the message. The young warrior then reports over the comms that he's already on his way to the location. Wasting no time, the warrior leaps forward, sprinting at top speed through the streets. Bounding across the rooftops, the boy wonders why they didn't attack the city directly instead. The broadcast then warns that the poison gas is expected to hit the city in 15 minutes. Hearing the order for the train to depart, the boy finds it strange that there are no more enemies around. Shortly after, the official transmission reports that the commander is engaged with the only opponent in the area. Leaping across city buildings, the boy announces over the radio that he's figured out the enemy's objective. The youth explains that the enemy's plan is to draw Lee Si-yoon away so they can retake the train. Hearing this, the man asks over the radio who the commander is fighting, only to learn it's an archer. He then reveals over the comms that the legendary archer of Tsushima is the one attacking them. Hearing who the opponent is, Yoo Chan-seok's eyes narrow with absolute seriousness. Surrounded by the massive destruction, the boy mutters that this fight has turned into a total mess. Meanwhile, the young commander wears a subtle smirk as she faces her opponent head-on with steady resolve. She then thrusts her massive sword into the ground, scattering debris across the area. At that moment, the archer draws his bowstring, generating a massive surge of magic. With a flash, a blinding burst of light erupts into the sky, tearing through the air violently. Facing that power, Lee Si-yoon's eyes widen in surprise as she senses the threat coming from above. A rain of magical beams comes crashing down, targeting her exact position. As the dust rises, hurried footsteps echo loudly across the structure during the advance. Eyes glowing, the enemy archer draws his bow again, preparing his next attack. Amid the chaos of battle, a soldier shouts that all supplies have been fully loaded. He immediately orders everyone to get on the train without wasting a single second. Moments later, the train begins to accelerate rapidly along the tracks, leaving the station behind. Inside the car, the officer confirms everyone is aboard and orders them to move out immediately. Sparks fly from the wheels on the tracks as the train picks up even more speed. Hearing the loud thuds, the men inside exchange tense glances given the critical situation. Through the windows, they watch flashes of explosions lighting up the path outside. Staring at the scene, the hunter turns around, stunned by the sheer force of the battle's impacts. The man then asks who the archer is, noting that Lee Si-yoon appears to be falling back. With a worried look, the other soldier wonders if the commander could actually be defeated. Distracted by the noise, the man looks up, confused by what's happening above them. The roof hatch of the train car then pops open, revealing someone entering. Hanging from the ceiling, Yoo Chan-seok remarks that he barely managed to catch up to the fast train. Seeing the boy there, the men call out his name while he asks them what they're doing. The youth then states that the commander isn't fighting this hard just for them to kick back and relax. Warning them of the danger, Chan-seok orders everyone up to the roof to prepare for battle. Hearing the order, the hunters remain silent inside the car, processing his words. Switching on his comms, the hunter immediately calls for the attention of all the other warriors. The radio message then orders everyone to head straight to the barrier generator. Impressed by her opponent's skill, Lee Si-yoon acknowledges the raw power of the rival before her. The masked archer praises the girl for blocking his attacks, acknowledging her high rank. With a smirk, the young commander fires back, saying she's sorry to ruin his plans. With a menacing glare, the masked man coldly replies that the commander shouldn't worry about it. As his allies watch from above, he claims that separating her from the train has already secured their victory. Meanwhile, the train continues to hurtle forward at high speed down the regional tracks. With a violent lurch, the locomotive rattles as it cuts through the tracks at breakneck speed. At that exact moment, Yeonju Seo watches the movement around her and announces that she has finally arrived. Over the comms, the radio crackles with a warning about a highly suspicious group spotted just ahead on the bridge. Right on cue, several masked men appear, lining up all along the path. Instantly, a swift movement slices through the air, heading straight for the hunters. Facing the threat, the order goes out for all hunters to prepare for combat immediately. Without hesitation, Yeonju Seo steps in, attacking one of the invaders and slamming him onto the roof. Glancing at the boy, the woman smiles, saying it's a pleasure to meet Yu Chan Seok. Taken aback by her approach, Chan Seok stares back intensely and asks if she already knows him. In response, Yeonju Seo explains her boss ordered him taken alive, but sets her own conditions. She adds that she doesn't usually take prisoners, and the elders aren't around anyway. With a cold glare, the girl warns she won't care if she accidentally kills him. Looking at the instrument on her back, Chan Seok wonders if that's actually a gyeogeum. Wasting no time, the girl rushes forward, planting her feet to strike the young warrior. Tracking the swift movement, the young man focuses his gaze, trying to predict her next attack. Right then, the fighter positions her hand, ready to pluck the magical string. With a powerful pluck, the energy wave unleashes a devastating blast through the freezing air. Taking the blow, the young man realizes his opponent attacks using only sound waves. Immediately after, two ritual weapons imbued with pure magic clash in the freezing air. With a faint smile, the man chants his ritual, invoking the copper bell on the pillar. At the same time, the dancer performs his sacred ritual while wielding his magical instruments. Through the ritual dance, powerful blades of energy slash through the air, crashing down with intense violence. Taking the heavy impact of the blow, the warrior staggers back as dust rises. Then, he raises his hand quickly, gathering magic in the air for another strike. Analyzing the scene, Yu Chan Seok notices the opponent's ritual dance is unusual. With that, the young man realizes with surprise that it's actually enhancement magic. Faced with such a massive explosion, the girl's eyes widen as she senses the force of the attack. Feeling the vibration, Han Sang-ah questions how sound waves can be heard from such a distance. Worried about the situation, the young woman realizes Yu Chan Seok must be in grave danger. Covering one ear, the young man stands firm against the painful impact of the sonic attack. With a mocking look, Chan Seok tells his rival her music is terrible. Smirking tauntingly, the fighter warns him that sound can't be blocked and tells him to squirm. Challenging her claim, the boy asks if it's truly impossible to block that attack. Then, the young man releases his special ability, unleashing an intense wave of destructive energy. Confused by the trick, the girl decides to tell Ha-yun to attack immediately. However, as she tries to speak, her eyes widen in shock when no voice comes out. At the same time, her ally tries to shout, horrified to realize he has lost his voice too. Watching their reaction, Yu Chan Seok confirms his strategy worked perfectly. He then reflects that these enemies aren't used to silent combat. Taking advantage of their confusion, the young man moves swiftly toward his opponents. With that, intense energy quickly spreads, engulfing the entire area instantly. Looking around, the girl wonders where he went, completely caught off guard by the sudden trick. Analyzing the fight, the woman thinks the 2-on-1 advantage still holds. Glancing at her partner, she wonders why he looks so deeply concerned. Startled by the sudden approach, Yeonju Seo realizes she has become the target of the attack. Right then, the lightning-fast strike slashes through the darkness with extreme precision and power. Facing the attack, Lee Ha-yun recalls the initial plan he made with his ally. He remembers they were both prepared to die just to capture the boy alive, yet he sees clearly that nothing has gone according to plan in this dire moment. With that, Lee Ha-yun activates his magic and screams at his rival to stop right now. Bleeding heavily from the hit, the girl asks her ally why he intervened. She then murmurs her partner's name while staring at the magical barrier. Hearing that, Yu Chan Seok calmly remarks that he finally learned his opponent's name. Right after, a magical mist spreads rapidly, covering the entire space around them. Gathering energy in his hand, the young man extends his arm to activate a new seal. Leaning on her weapon, the girl hears her partner remind her that the seal wasn't supposed to be used. With a resolute look, Lee Ha-yun argues they had no choice and claims he captured him. He then boasts that his barrier trapped Lee Se-yun and will easily contain Yu Chan Seok. However, a dark silhouette surging with electrical sparks bursts out through the thick dust. Shocked, the man asks how his rival broke free and orders Seo Yeonju to fall back immediately. Suddenly, a violent strike crashes down, causing massive bleeding right before their eyes. In absolute shock, Lee Ha-yun stammers, unable to fathom how his rival escaped like that. With a cold glare, Yu Chan Seok asks who gave them permission to leave and if they've lost their minds. Panicking, Lee Ha-yun admits that power exceeds expectations and orders them to run for their lives. Sensing the danger, he screams in desperation for Seo Yeonju to run away. Watching their attempt to flee, Yu Chan-seok dares the girl to try escaping if she can. Right away, the young man warns that Lee Ha-yoon won't escape this attack either. As his rival trembles, the warrior demands they leave the shield generator behind. Fixing his glare on his opponents, Yu Chan-seok harshly tells them to try running now. While the battle rages on the train, the scene shifts back to the devastated Hamburg Central Station. Amidst the rubble, Lee Si-yoon and the masked archer stare at each other in total silence. Suddenly, the rival suggests ending the fight right there, leaving the commander utterly shocked. The archer then claims he's proud of her, saying her existence proves the strength of Korea. Annoyed by his words, Lee Si-yoon asks if he truly believes in the Hwanguk theory. This pseudo-historical theory claims an ancient Korea once ruled all of Eurasia in the distant past. Furthermore, it's known that the heirs of Dangun used this exact idea to consolidate their power. With a serene expression, the man replies that only a fool would believe such a story. Hearing his answer, the girl expresses her confusion and asks why he acted that way. Without hesitating, the opponent responds by asking if it really matters what he chooses to believe. The man then asserts that what truly matters is having people beside him who do believe it. He adds that this conviction will unite everyone under him, as faith requires no proof. Looking over the ruins, Lee Si-yeon listens as her rival declares that simply believing is enough. Faced with that declaration, the young woman narrows her eyes, locking her full focus on her opponent. Immediately after, the girl grips the hilt with both hands and readies her great sword. As the wind howls through the rubble, young Lee Si-yoon lets out a heavy sigh. Looking at the trail, the young man comments that with those injuries, his rival couldn't have gone far. While weighing whether to go after him, the young man hears an urgent radio call. Moments later, the transmission announces they've completely lost contact with Commander Lee Si-yoon. Right then, the message reveals that temporary command has been transferred to Yu Chan-seok. Suddenly, one of the masked invaders lunges violently, screaming for him to die. Without hesitation, the young warrior counters the attack and strikes hard at the surrounding enemies. With a precise movement, the guy lands a devastating kick right to his opponent's face. From the sheer force of the impact, the invader is sent flying, losing his sword in the process. Next, the young man grips the hilt tightly to deliver another blow. Wielding the weapon with precision, he delivers a swift slash, hitting the enemy without holding back. Taking the full brunt of the violent strike, the opponent collapses heavily onto the train's metal roof. Taking charge, Yu Chan-seok hits the radio and issues a direct order to everyone. The guy explains he decided not to stop the train, ignoring the advice of his allies. Even if it seems like a bad call, he states he doesn't regret prioritizing his mission. Finally, Chan-seok justifies his decision, stating that protecting the supply shipment comes first. Looking back, the boy murmurs that Lee Si-yoon needs to make it back from this fierce battle in one piece. Suddenly, a man runs up in panic, asking if the commander really died in that intense clash. Seeing how exhausted the messenger is, Chan-seok calmly asks what's going on. With a slight smirk, the boy replies that he already knew their leader would return. As he looks at the injured woman, the young man remarks that she'd never die over something so minor. Shortly after, the scene shifts to a hospital room where an IV drips steadily. From her hospital bed, Lee Si-yoon reassures the young man, telling him he did a great job. Fixing her gaze on him, the commander asks why he would even think that in the first place. Then, the woman mentions she's been thoroughly analyzing his recent fight with the archer. Looking down, the girl admits she simply can't see a way to win. Listening to her open up, Yu Chan-seok hears his leader say that the enemy was holding back during the fight. She then vents that she doesn't believe in sudden, grand epiphanies in life. With a serene look, Lee Si-yeon agrees with her own thoughts during their conversation. Changing the subject, the girl asks how the relief supply delivery is going. With a sly smile, Yu Chan-seok replies that he handled the situation in his own way. Seon reminds him that the barrier generator must be transported after loading the supplies at the port. Then, the girl asks if that means the young man will remain in the UK. Hearing this, Yu Chan-seok doubts that the descendants of Dangun would give up so easily. The young man explains that he intends to train in the UK before starting his return. Furthermore, he reveals his plan to challenge the Rank 1 rift in Bratsk. Impressed by the announcement, Seon warns that facing such a dangerous rift alone will be extremely difficult. The young warrior counters by explaining that Han Sang-ah will go with him, leaving the commander completely stunned. In response, the commander decides to stay behind to offer as much support as she can. Frozen mountains stand out as it is mentioned that this rift is considered one of the weakest. Staring intently, Lee Si-eun recalls the young man's promise to clear every single existing rift. With that, she hopes he keeps that fire burning inside him even after such a grueling ordeal. At those words, Yoo Chan-seok simply gives a faint smile, brimming with confidence. Shortly after, the scene shifts to a large, modern house shrouded in fog. Surveying the property, the hunter ponders if the distance to the barrier generator will be an issue. The young man reassures his companion, stating they only need to step in if serious new problems arise. She explains that completing hourly radio check-ins will prevent any outside interference. Next, the girl hands over the order, warning that their stock of the product was running low. Receiving the vials, Yoo Chan-seok smiles, saying that amount would be more than enough. Suddenly, the caps of the small vials start popping off rapidly all at once. As he gulps them all down together, he explains that taking each vial separately tastes too bitter. Holding the empty vial, the young man states that now that they have what they need, they can finally begin. Looking at the table, he argues that there is no tool more intuitive than eggs. Showing his left hand, Yoo Chan-seok explains that he is holding just a completely ordinary egg. Then, he demonstrates with his other hand, channeling his energy directly into the second egg. Faced with this sudden demonstration, Han Sang-ah stares intently at the result unfolding before her eyes. Looking closely, the girl remarks on the surprising state of the egg bathed in energy. Showing the dishes, the young man asks if she notices how the egg white and yolk have mixed together. Grasping the method, Han Sang-ah notes that this exercise is meant to train energy control. Clenching his fist tightly, Yoo Chan-seok simply replies that he understood the instructions she gave him. Seeing him walk away, the girl asks where he's going, and the young man replies that he needs to train. Without hesitation, he asks about the real training, reminding her that this was just homework. Sticking her weapon into the ground, the girl reminds him that all training always begins with real combat. Weapon in hand, Han Sang-ah smiles and asks if everyone is fully ready. In response to the question, the girl immediately says yes, while the young man watches in complete silence. Meanwhile, a continuous hum echoes through the ventilation ducts of a gloomy underground lab. Strapped to the wall and covered in tubes, the man groans in pain, unable to break free. Slowly, he opens his eyes, trying to understand what is happening in this dark place. Seeing his eyes open, the scientist mockingly asks if he's finally awake. When asked about the location, Seo Gyun-woo reveals it to be his lab and mentions the breakout from the hospital. Unable to move, the prisoner asks in surprise why he was brought to that laboratory. Turning toward the testing table, the scientist remains silent while analyzing the small vial. Gyun-woo then taunts him, saying the prisoner would just get bored staring at the hospital ceiling. Fixing his gaze on the scientist, the man threatens him, asking if he wants to die right there. Laughing off the threat, the man reminds him that his rival can't even breathe without magical equipment. Gyun-woo then adds that he shouldn't be the target of so much rage. He goes on to reveal that he succeeded in an experiment and asks for Kim Ji-hyun's opinion. Looking closely, the scientist approaches the prisoner and asks if she doesn't want to get her revenge. A month later, the girl carefully tries to crack an egg to practice her technique. Seeing the yolk spread across the plate, she sighs in disappointment at her failure. Looking at the shells, the young girl regrets not being able to control her energy like Chan Seok when she hears him. Weapon in hand, the young man announces that break time is over and orders training to resume. Surprised by how short the time was, the girl asks if it's already over and says she's coming. Next, the young girl quickly adjusts her stance to prepare for the brutal combat. Meanwhile, the plate on the table displays a perfectly prepared fried egg. At that moment, a tough 2-on-1 training session begins against the experienced Lee Si-eun. With a fixed and stern glare, Si-eun reveals that the first main goal is to get strong. Hearing that, Han Sang-ah locks her gaze, showing total determination to become much stronger. Watching the two of them, Yoo Chan-seok offers a faint smile, ready for the intense battle. Without hesitation, Lee Si-eun charges with her blade, attacking her companion with extreme speed now. Faced with the lightning-fast assault, Sang-ah's eyes widen as she tries to react to her rival's strike. Maintaining the pressure, the commander delivers a powerful slash to test the young girl's defense. Leaping from above, Yoo Chan-seok intervenes in the fight, bringing down a blow directly from overhead. Seeing the impact of the attack, Lee Si-eun is shocked to realize her sword has been struck. Taking advantage of her rival's open guard, The young man tells Han Sang-ah to land a direct hit on her. He then explains that the second goal of the training is to improve their teamwork. Facing the duo's coordinated advance, the commander's eyes widen, watching closely for their next swift move. With that, a devastating impact hits the ground, causing a massive explosion of pure magic energy. Through the smoke, Se-eun admits her surprise, recognizing that they actually managed to disarm her in combat. Praising the girl's progress over the past month, the woman says she will teach her how to hold the weapon properly. Suddenly, an emergency call from Dover interrupts the conversation with an urgent warning. The message warns of an attack by Dangun's descendants and demands immediate reinforcements at the scene. Next, a black car speeds ahead, tearing down the road toward their new destination. Annoyed in the passenger seat, Chan Seok questions the driver, who retorts that she's the only one with a driver's license. Holding on tight in the back seat, the commander asks the girl to drive a bit more carefully. At that very moment, the young warrior's eyes widen as he notices something extremely suspicious up ahead. Suddenly, a terrifying creature leaps onto the vehicle's windshield, trying to stop their speeding advance. Faced with the unexpected attack, the driver swerves violently, making the tires screech across the road. Looking out the car window, the young girl wonders if she just ran someone over. Watching the fallen figure stand up, the young man comments that it doesn't look human. Raising its mutated body, the mysterious creature mutters, stating it had finally found them there. Looking closely at the threat, Yu Chan-seok is stunned to recognize who that person was. The young man asks if it's Kim Ji-hyun, while the monster utters his name right there. Displaying its claws with an evil grin, the creature states he would never know the truth. Slamming its foot violently onto the ground, the monster talks about reaching that miserable state. Charging forward at breakneck speed, the creature screams about everything it had to sacrifice in life. With the devastating impact of the attack, several surrounding buildings begin to crumble to pieces. At that exact moment, the creature's eyes widen as it notices its opponent's unexpected reaction. Landing firmly on the ground, Yu Chan-seok declares he would never fall to a simple attack. Analyzing his opponent, the young man wonders how she keeps moving after losing power. Opening the car door, Lee Si-aun orders Han Sang-ah to go to the port while she heads to headquarters. Taking her position for the fight, the commander notes that the monster seems pissed off at him. With an extremely serious look, the girl demands that the warrior end the confrontation quickly. Hearing the order given, the girl rushes out of the destroyed vehicle to fulfill her mission. Laughing at the situation, the creature mocks as it sees Commander Lee Si-eun pull away from the fight. With a malicious glare, the monster threatens to tear everyone to shreds, starting with Yu Chan-seok in battle. Showing no fear, the young man fires back, mocking that his rival's level is far too weak. Infuriated by the joke, the opponent recalls the moment he was completely incapacitated by his rival. As it channels its magic energy, the monster claims it swore revenge every single day in that place. Revealing its terrifying form, the creature declares that it will make the boy suffer the exact same pain. Lashing through the air with extreme violence, the monster screams that it will tear Yu Chan-seok apart right now. Watching the speed of that attack, the boy silently concludes that things just got dangerous. Arriving at the port, Han Sang-ah is shocked to find that every single hunter has been defeated. Meanwhile, masked figures watch the girl's every move from atop the massive shipping containers. Sensing the enemies above, the young woman steps back, shaken by such a grim sight. Suddenly, a masked attacker leaps down violently, landing right in front of the stunned girl. Grinning behind his mask, the guy remarks that he expected to find at least a few survivors alive. Looking down at her, the enemy asks if she's the group's little princess. He then declares that they're going to fetch a massive ransom for her. Hearing this, Han Sang-ah realizes that just those 3 men wiped out the entire area. With contempt, the girl replies that putting it that way makes it sound pretty weird. At that, the masked invaders fall silent, as she suggests using a different phrase instead. Hearing her response, the masked men burst out laughing, mocking Han Sang-ah's nerve. The attacker compares her to an idiot, doubting they'll get a high ransom now. Leaping forward with their swords drawn, the invaders strike, shouting that they're going to have some fun with Han Sang-ah. Facing the invaders, Han Sang-ah realizes they have double her magical capacity. Taking a deep breath, the girl tries to stay focused on the situation. She recalls Yu Chan-seok explaining that staying calm to read the fight matters more than magic. As her rivals attack from above, Sang-ah decides to keep her composure until Yu Chan-seok arrives. Meanwhile, Seo Gyun-woo promises to inject power that will multiply his opponent's strength 7-fold. The scientist explains that this massive magic will eliminate the need for a respirator, but it carries severe side effects. Hearing about these severe side effects, Kim Ji-hyun watches the man in total silence. Hyunwoo then warns that his bones will break and his organs will completely twist. Faced with a plea to stop, the scientist claims that it's a small price to pay. Leaning over the gurney, Seo Hyunwoo asks the injured man if he's really scared now. He then asks if this scares him more than living as an invalid. With an attentive glare, Hyunwoo states he's simply offering him a unique new opportunity. He promises Kim Ji-hyun the chance to make Yoo Chan-seok suffer even more. In his new form, Kim Ji-hyun declares he shouldn't be staring at a hospital ceiling. With a fixed gaze, the mutant claims there's only one thing he wants to see. Charging violently forward, the mutant screams that he only wants to see the kid's miserable corpse. Even against that fierce attack, Yoo Chan-seok remains calm, carefully watching his approach. With a serene look, the boy calculates the exact moment to strike back. He then leans to the side, easily dodging the first punch. Instantly, the enemy unleashes a mind-boggling barrage of strikes right at that spot. Amidst those furious attacks, the young warrior tracks the movement and spots a perfect opening. With a precise move, the boy lets the flurry of fists pass right by without touching him. Seizing the right moment, Yoo Chan-seok plants the butt of his spear against his opponent's arm. Using the weapon's leverage, he effortlessly launches the heavy monster into the air. Completely stunned by the strength of that counterattack, the mutant loses all balance in mid-air. Right after, a massive surge of energy blasts Kim Ji-hyun even higher into the sky. Still suspended in the air, the monster grunts, unable to grasp how he got lifted like that. The opponent then vows to end the battle the moment he hits the ground. However, looking down, he notices Yoo Chan-seok charging up toward him at full speed. Seeing that surge, his rival wonders in confusion what the kid is planning to do. Building massive momentum, the young warrior leaps up to reach his opponent mid-air. At that exact moment, his spear rapidly extends, reaching an incredible height. In total shock, Kim Ji-hyun wonders how that weapon could extend so far. Positioning his weapon up high, Yoo Chan-seok prepares his attack against the stunned rival. Gripping the shaft firmly, the boy remarks that Kim Ji-hyun actually surprised him. The young warrior adds that his opponent's punches are definitely much stronger now. Yoo Chan-seok then asks if his durability matches his power, leaving the mutant completely confused. Immediately after, a devastating flurry of blows hits the monster dead-on in mid-air. Unleashing his special technique, the boy slams his opponent hard into the ground. With a brutal impact, massive energy spreads as chunks of debris go flying everywhere. Lying in a massive crater, Kim Ji-hyun remains completely motionless beneath the ruined rubble. Coughing up blood, the opponent struggles to breathe as his severely battered body fails to respond. Staring at the marks on the ground, the mutant laments losing despite having so much power. Looking up at his rival, Kim Ji-hyun weakly begs to be killed right then and there. Walking slowly toward the crater, Yoo Chan-seok silently realizes something is completely wrong. Examining his enemy, the young man notices that raw energy flows through him instead of blood. On top of that, the warrior realizes that fluid didn't even belong to a human being. From his experience in another world, he concludes that humanity severely misunderstands this sorcery. To Chan-seok, people act like savages trying to manipulate this power recklessly. Observing the magic crystal, the boy notices his enemies actually believe they created that technique. However, the young warrior sees through the trap, wondering if the sorcery stemmed from a contract. A powerful entity had materialized its energy the moment he accepted the final pact. Looking down at his fallen foe, Yoo Chan-seok wonders if the man even understood the risks of that choice. Right after, the gem embedded in his enemy's forehead begins to crack under pressure. Noticing the gem's reaction, the boy's eyes widen at the impending danger. Suddenly, a colossal explosion of light and energy tears through the structure, destroying the entire area. Shielding his face from the debris, the young man wonders if that was a self-destruct spell. Watching the rising steam, the warrior realizes his rival was completely erased without a trace. He recognizes the technique as the seal of an insanely powerful demon from the other world. Gazing up at the stormy sky, Yoo Chan-seok wonders if any demons are left in this place. Standing before the rubble, the boy simply mutters that he'll have to deal with that later. Unable to believe it, the enemy realizes his attacks were blocked effortlessly. Right after, he notices that all his men have already been wiped out on the ground. With a faint smile, the girl remarks that they won just like Yoo Chan-seok said they would. Suddenly, the wounded invader leaps down, trying to catch the young warrior off guard. In that instant, the boy's voice firmly demands that his enemy halt right where he is. With that, the blade slices through the air with extreme speed and massive magical force. Before them, a massive magic seal expands across the sky as the duo watches in silence. Han Sang-ah then points out that it represents an impressive concentration of raw energy. Looking to the side, she asks if that was the exact spot where everyone had gathered. At that moment, Lee Si-yoon appears with her weapon, noting that everyone seems to be doing just fine. Surveying the destruction, the commander states that they shouldn't take it easy when fighting a mob. Meanwhile, Yoo Chan-seok wonders how to explain everything that happened to his rival. He then figures they will definitely question him about how he made that discovery. Because of this, Chan-seok considers revealing his dimensional travel, but realizes no one would ever believe it. Thinking back to the other world, the young man decides to fake a prophecy, just like the ancient priests used to do. Speaking to Seyoon, he claims that a mysterious voice emerged from the black smoke. Making up the story on the spot, he describes a glowing entity bringing a warning about the coming destruction. With this tale, Chan-seok simply intends to warn them about even more dangerous threats looming ahead. Hearing his account, both companions ponder in surprise, wondering about the true meaning behind the strange revelation. Seeing their reaction, Yoo Chan-seok notes with satisfaction that his lie sounded pretty convincing. Next, Lee Se-eun and Han Sang-ah debate the involvement of Dang-gun's descendants. As they talk, Lee Se-eun pauses in silence for a moment, weighing the matter. She then reveals that the hunter transfer market will be opening soon. When questioned about it, the commander explains that the event is actually much bigger than that. She adds that representatives from various guilds gather there to exchange crucial information. With that, Lee Si-yoon states they will be able to discuss the prophecy he just shared right there. Hearing this, the boy concludes that the other hunters won't ignore a warning coming from her. Next, the woman reveals that Hunter Yoon Seong-hyun is coming to the UK to meet him. Joking about the situation, the young man teases his own popularity and asks if the man is going to beg. Hearing the comment, Han Sang-ah warns that the hunter is already married to a woman. Shrugging it off, Yoo Chan-seok declares he will handle the problem his own way. Shortly after, the scene shifts directly to the brightly lit interior of an imposing building. In the dim hall, a firm voice remarks that the visitor must have something important to say. Then, Seong Si-hoon stares at his companion Yoon Seong-hyun, awaiting an update on the mission. Kneeling on the floor, the man simply apologizes sincerely for failing his mission. Hearing that apology, the leader furiously questions the response he just got. With an annoyed look, the leader instantly snaps back, stating that wasn't what he wanted to hear. Si-hoon then presses the hunter, warning that he didn't call him here to listen to excuses. Trying to explain himself, Seong-hyun rationalizes that the kid became far more famous than expected. Clenching his fist, the leader demands to know how he and the guild will be viewed by everyone now. Si-hun then firmly declares that he hates hearing any half-baked excuses in this place. With a violent swing, the leader launches a wave of energy that hits his companion. Still on the ground, Seong-hyun reveals that the kid claimed he has no intention of joining the guild. At that, Si-hun fires back that the kid's intentions don't matter and refuses to give second chances. The leader then orders them to bring Yoo Chan-seok to the guild during the transfer period. Back at the dorm, Chan-seok watches the visitors through the window and asks who those men are. Outside, Seong-hyun walks with a stern look, flanked by two bodyguards in sharp black suits. Soon after, everyone gathers in the building's meeting room to talk things over calmly. Sitting on the couch, Seong-hyun demands that the boy fulfill his promise as soon as the window opens. Without hesitating, Chan-seok looks the visitor dead in the eye and replies that the conditions have changed now. Reviewing the papers, the boy concludes that the rival guild never intended to negotiate in the first place. The young man then explains that the guild has a representative who is both its strength and its weakness. Listening to him, Seong-hyun firmly confirms that the supreme leader of the guild is Seong Si-hoon. With that, Chan-seok points out that their leader no longer acts directly as an active hunter. The young man then questions whether an inactive hunter can really still be called a hunter at all. Staring intently, the boy mockingly asks if he isn't just a rich, unemployed guy now. Furious at his audacity, Seong-hyun tells him to shut his mouth, or he'll make him disappear without a trace. With a faint smirk, the boy remarks that at least the leader has very loyal subordinates. Without a second thought, Yoo Chan-seok firmly announces that he officially rejects the proposal. Hearing the response, Seong-hyun refuses the rejection and slams his fist onto the table with sheer violence. The man then hurls the table directly at him, shouting that the kid doesn't have a choice. Facing the sudden attack, the young warrior watches the flying object, without showing any reaction. With a devastating impact, the massive table shatters completely into pieces inside the closed room. Emerging from the debris, Yu Chan-seok locks his focused gaze sharp on his opponent. Right then, the adversary rushes forward through the smoke, throwing a violent straight punch. With extreme force, the heavy blow cuts through the air straight toward the young warrior. The impact of the strike obliterates the wall, sending rubble flying as the boy quickly dashes back. Assessing the violent assault, Chan-seok remarks that the punch felt like a wrecking ball. Sliding across the floor, the warrior declares he will also respond with force against such a violent attack. Suddenly, Seong-hyun gasps as he feels an overwhelming force pressing down on his entire body. Grinding his teeth, the man mutters that something heavy is crushing his frame with immense pressure. Looking closely, the hunter instantly recognizes that this intense pressure comes from pure magic. Stunned by the sight, Seong-hyun shouts aloud, asking since when the kid possessed such a massive amount of magic. At the same time, the other man watches the scene in silence, completely unable to react. Right then, the system reveals that the top guild's representative is a specialist in psychokinesis. Keeping a steady glare, Chan-seok concentrates his magic power to completely overpower his rivals. Under the crushing pressure, his opponent realizes the young man is a master at manipulating magic. With a devastating impact, the rival hunter charges forward and pins the young man against the rubble. Feeling the pressure of the attack, Chan-seok realizes his rival was aiming right for his temple. Yoon Seong-hyun then demands he join the guild or be crushed on the spot. Showing no fear whatsoever, Yu Chan-seok sarcastically replies that he's absolutely terrified. Suddenly releasing his energy, the young man leaves his opponent completely stunned by the powerful reaction. Faced with such overwhelming power, the rival hunter panics, unable to comprehend what's happening. With that, energy envelopes both fighters, locking them down and preventing any further movement. Desperate, Yoon Seong-hyun screams that he's completely lost control over his own magic power. Keeping a cold expression, Chan-seok asks if his rival thinks this is the first time. The young warrior then calmly adds that this kind of threat has gotten pretty repetitive. Terrified by the situation, the man mutters that the mysterious flame simply won't go out. The young man explains that the energy will burn until his breathing stops and he dies. In absolute despair, Yoon Seong-hyun screams, asking if he really thinks he can get away with killing him. Mocking the situation, Chan-seok reminds him that the guild's motto preaches that the weak die. Stunned by the shocking outcome, the two companions watch in dead silence, unable to utter a word. In shock, Sang-ah comments on the hunter's death, but the boy replies that he had to defend himself. Seyoon then warns him that the guild will come after him, but the young man states he would never get along with them anyway. Hearing about Seong Si-hun, the guild's psychokinetic master, the young man asks about his strength. The commander explains that their rival can move massive monuments with his impressive telekinetic power. Hearing this, Yu Chan-seok asks if that man is stronger than the leader herself. In response, the woman reveals that his opponent's power has a 20-meter radius limit. Listening to the explanation, the boy considers that it can hardly be called a real weakness. Changing the subject, the young man notes that their contract with the UK is coming to an end. Looking out over the city, he concludes he needs to gain more fame before the global transfers open up. Yu Chan-seok then asks if he would be capable of clearing the erosion core in Russia. The commander warns that places of that level have complex mechanics beyond the regular erosion monsters. Estimating a 40% chance of success, the woman listens as the young man asks what mechanics are. She explains that they are special rules or specific sequences required to destroy the main core. Furthermore, she reveals that the descendants of Dangun previously altered the core on the island. Wrapping up the conversation, Lee Si-yoon warns that overcoming them requires practical experience, something they severely lack. Lee Si-yoon then mentions that the reward for clearing the core is an astronomical sum. Hearing the figure, the boy's eyes widen as he asks exactly how much they would receive. Typing on her phone, Lee Si-eun notes that the trio will need to hire a support team. Showing her screen, she explains she has contacts in Japan who owe her favors. The young man understands that the group will help clear a path through the creatures to reach the core. With that, the commander explains that after deductions, 1.5 billion will remain for each of them. Hearing about the payout upon completion, Han Sung-ah asks what happens if they fail. Analyzing the situation, the warrior reflects that only he will end up in debt if the mission fails. Right after, Lee Si-eun reassures them that success will bring in a massive amount of cash. With a faint smirk, the young man mutters to himself that life is all or nothing. Yu Chan-seok then accepts the challenge, stating he'll do whatever it takes for that massive payout. A week later, the leader hands over the contract and the full report during the trip. The woman warns that only 2 hunters can enter the core of that dangerous area together. As the helicopter flies through the intense blizzard, the commander wishes them good luck. And so, the aircraft pushes forward through the freezing fog toward its final destination. Worried about failure, Chan Seok asks how the commander managed to hire so many support hunters. With a calm look, the woman replies that she has her ways while reaching for something inside her coat. Displaying 2 small spheres in her hand, Lee Se-yeon reveals they are salvation candies. The commander explains she got the items from the association to guarantee an emergency escape. The woman then warns that the price of rescue is never being allowed to enter that core again. Hearing the warning, the young hunter notes that failure will draw the entire local press. Listening in silence, Chan Seok knows that failure will completely ruin the reputation she built up. Looking out the window, Lee Se-yoon alerts everyone that they are approaching the erosion zone. Without wasting any time, the young man adjusts his earpiece to establish contact. Over the radio, dispatch confirms the connection and asks if both hunters can hear. Right away, the operator introduces herself as the commander in charge of the team. Dispatch confirms they've entered the area and reaffirms the goal: clear the main core. The woman reports hundreds of monsters and explains that other hunters will lure them away. Asked by dispatch if he will enter the core with Han Sang-ah, Yu Chan-seok confirms without hesitation. Reflecting in silence, the young man thinks it would be much easier if the commander came along. During the flight, he considers that if Lee Se-yeon handles everything, it'll just look like he got carried. However, he realizes that if he completes the mission with Han Sang-ah, it will be a totally different story. Noticing the silence, the commander admits she's quite worried and asks if everything will be okay. Reassuring his leader, the young man says he'll be fine, risking it all even if he ends up buried in debt. Crossing his arms, Chan Seok declares he must succeed to secure the biggest reward from this massive challenge. A snowstorm blows fiercely over the destroyed buildings of that completely devastated city. Next, Yu Chan Seok and his companion swiftly leap toward their main objective. Over the radio, HQ warns that 3 creatures are rapidly approaching their location. In the command center, the operator monitors the radar while broadcasting the enemy's data. Then, the support team announces over the radio that they will distract the monsters in the area. Shortly after, the group reports casualties over the comms and urgently requests combat reinforcements. Taking careful aim, the sniper announces he will draw the attention of the 25 crawling creatures. Over the comms, HQ remarks that the hunter duo is on a whole different professional level. Next, the announcement confirms that the main target is just 500 meters away. Hearing the order to enter the rift quickly, Han Sang-ah realizes they are running out of time. HQ wishes the warriors good luck as the young man leaps straight into the portal. After crossing the rift, the young guy free falls from a great height, looking up at his companion above. With that, the location reveals a massive frozen palace surrounded by giant iron chains. Looking at the structure, Yu Chan-seok wonders in surprise if that is an ancient royal palace. Then, the young warrior notices the silence and asks where his companion went. Before the mystical glow, the young man reads the message about working together in that hall. Walking with his spear, the guy wonders what all of this really means. Suddenly, Han Sang-ah's voice echoes, commanding Yu Chan-seok to stop right there. Looking around, the boy asks where his partner is in that mysterious place. With that, the warrior notices a sharp blade pointed directly at his own throat. Then, the guy slowly raises his hand, trying to make sense of the situation. Focusing on his next move, the warrior extends his index finger to carefully test the space ahead. As his finger touches it, a small spark of energy unexpectedly appears right in front of him. Confused by the invisible threat, Chan Seok wonders if he's the only one who can't see anything there. Then, the young man turns around and asks Sang-ah what else she can see. The girl replies that several other weapons attached to chains are floating all around him. Upon hearing that warning, the place reveals itself to be packed with extremely dangerous mystical traps. Looking at the entrance ahead, Han Sang-ah confirms she can see that portal as well. Observing the structure, the young woman notices slimy creatures passing through that gateway one by one. Trying to touch her surroundings, the girl realizes that everything simply passes right through her body. With that, the young man understands he is blind to it all, while she can only watch without being able to act. Faced with this, the girl watches as numerous blades and slimy creatures surround her partner in the hall. Gripping his spear, Yu Chan-seok realizes his partner has become his eyes in this difficult trial. Watching the threat, the young man notices the monsters advance much slower inside that hall. Looking down, the warrior notices the entire floor is divided into tiles he can use as a reference. Then, he asks Han Sang-ah to guide his path using his current position as the center. Agreeing to the plan, the girl tells him to first take out the blade positioned at his neck. With a precise strike, Chan Seok hits the exact coordinate and destroys the trap pinned right there. However, the shards of the broken trap fly through the air and end up hitting a nearby chain. Seeing that, the girl's eyes widen in surprise as she realizes the fragments hit it. Faced with the imminent danger, she shouts a warning about a fast attack coming from his right side. Grazed by the attack, the young man notices in surprise that once again, he didn't sense the threat coming. Feeling the pain of the wound, the guy asks his companion to just call out his next move. Following her directions, Yu Chan-seok swiftly leaps toward the tile she indicated. As the boy dodges, his partner quickly shouts new coordinates and angles for him to evade. With blood dripping down his cheek, the young warrior focuses on the challenge ahead. Right then, Sang-ah shouts, warning him that all the threats are within his reach now. Hearing the warning, the guy responds that he's got it and unleashes a powerful strike. With that, his weapon's energy slashes vertically, destroying every single creature in the hall. Seeing the success of the attack, the girl offers a faint smile as she watches the scene. Suddenly, a violent distortion rocks the hall, leaving the warrior startled by the sudden shift. Looking back, the young woman notices with shock that the situation in the hall has inverted. At that moment, Yu Chan-seok realizes his partner has taken his position and new traps have appeared. As she scans the vast hall, the girl stands motionless in the center, surrounded by new threats. With a calm look, the guy comments on the role reversal and asks if she feels confident. Without hesitating for a second, Sang-ah tells him to leave the rest of the job to her. Then, the slimy remains of the creatures drop onto the cold floor, melting away into puddles. Taking a deep breath, the girl announces firmly that all the threats there have been eliminated. Hearing this, Chan Seok reflects that the challenge didn't seem as tough as its reputation promised. Right after, his companion becomes enveloped in light as the young man watches her depart. Immediately after, an intense light bursts in the hall, clearing a path through the heavy smoke. With that, a massive pillar of energy rises, obliterating everything left around them. Watching closely, Chan Seok asks if his companion can feel that presence too. In response, Sang-ah confirms she feels an imposing energy accompanied by a much more freezing chill. Looking forward, the young man assures that the main target is right up ahead. With a focused gaze, Chan Seok declares they have finally found the dangerous core of this intense rift. Right after, the massive frozen gates swing open, revealing the entrance to the new room. Stepping inside, the guy spots a massive staircase made of ice leading up to a throne. At the top of that structure, a mysterious figure sits calmly on its majestic frozen throne. Observing the scene up close, the entity wears a subtle, chilling smile on its face. Looking back, Chan Seok realizes his partner has disappeared, and he'll have to fight completely alone. Suddenly, the boy is surprised to spot a strange gauge appearing right above his head. Examining the artifact, the young warrior wonders curiously if that is actually a thermometer. At that exact moment, the gauge's bar plunges rapidly, indicating a sharp drop in temperature. Faced with the intense cold, the guy adjusts his grip on his spear and takes his combat stance. Suddenly, the figure on the throne activates its magic and fires dozens of ice spikes. Seeing the incoming attack, he clicks his tongue in annoyance while holding his weapon tight. Then, young Yu Chan-seok grumbles that his opponent didn't even give him time to think. Holding his spear, Yu Chan-seok watches the gauge as freezing air engulfs the entire hall. He then considers that he still doesn't understand the mechanics and shouldn't act recklessly. In front of him, the mysterious ice figure smiles softly while channeling its powerful magic. Suddenly, Han Sang-ah comes through the radio, asking if Yu Chan-seok can hear her. Right away, the boy hits his comms and asks how things are looking on her end. She replies over the radio that she found a massive creature completely bound in chains. Then, she reveals over the comms that the creature keeps splitting into multiple smaller monsters. Hearing this, Chan Seok realizes he can't raise the temperature alone and asks for her help. When she asks why, the young man explains that his body temperature is dropping way too fast. The warrior then warns her that he'll be defeated if they don't stop that attack within 5 minutes. At the same time, he stresses over the radio that he'll die if things keep going like this. Urgently, Yu Chan-seok begs his companion to find some way to fix the situation. Still on the comms, the boy nimbly leaps into the air and slashes through the surrounding ice spikes. Immediately after, the young man unleashes a powerful strike, destroying the massive wave of frost. However, Yu Chan-seok notices his body is still freezing and his reflexes are slowing down. Right then, the ice surrounding his body shatters violently. Leaping with his spear, The warrior tries to hold back the creeping cold as he attacks across the hall. Over the radio, Han Sang-ah reports she just took down one of the smaller split-off creatures. Grasping the plan, Chan Seok figures she just needs to handle the minion monsters while he takes on the leader. At that exact moment, the gauge bar drops drastically, indicating freezing cold in the area. However, a second later, the gauge spikes, hitting an extreme level of heat. Feeling the overwhelming heat, the young warrior's eyes widen, completely baffled by the sudden shift. Over the radio, he yells at the young woman to control how many creatures she takes out at a time. In agony, he warns her through the comms that his temperature keeps rising to the point of destroying his organs. Understanding the situation, Sang-ah realizes she must pace her kills to maintain stability. Glancing at the frozen throne, Yu Chan-seok decides he needs to end this battle as fast as possible. Wasting no time, the warrior dashes rapidly up the icy stairs toward the enemy. Digging his feet into the frozen steps, he gains momentum to push his fast advance. Next, he unleashes a powerful energy attack that shoots upward at blistering speed. Through the blast's impact, Yu Chan-seok charges through the smoke, eyes locked on his rival. From the heavy force of the blow, the frozen structure begins to shatter violently all around. Right after, a mysterious silhouette emerges from the thick smoke of the attack. Facing the assault, the ice entity triggers a powerful magic barrier to defend itself. Analyzing the enemy's defense, Chan-seok notices the creature also boasts high magic resistance. At that same moment, the warrior turns his attention back to the temperature gauge overhead. Over the comms, the young hunter reports that the large creature's multiplication has slowed drastically. Noticing the pattern, the guy realizes that simply approaching the core altered the situation. Without hesitation, Yu Chan-seok quickly backs away from the throne to test his theory. Then, Han Sang-ah confirms over the radio that the creature has started multiplying rapidly again. He concludes that getting close to the core reduces the monsters, but will freeze him solid. On the other hand, if he retreats, his young partner will be cornered by the overwhelming number of enemies. Weighing his options, he considers using his flames to burn down the entire surrounding area. However, he realizes his partner would be consumed by the fire as soon as they reunited. Slicing through a creature, Han Sang-ah answers immediately when called over the combat radio. Stealing his posture, Yu Chan-seok tells his partner to hold out as long as she can in this tough battle. As the storm rages outside, snow covers the tall buildings of the metropolis. Inside the control center, operators closely track all the data on their monitors. In the room, an operator asks how much time has passed and hears it's already been 3 days. Adjusting his headset, the operator wonders if the duo will really be okay acting on their own. Meanwhile, in the hall, the ice creature cackles, keeping its barrier active during the fight. Floating high above the hall, the enemy fires several ice spikes straight down. Striking with his spear, young Yu Chan-seok notes that his rival's defenses haven't budged. Feeling the cold creep back in, the young man urges Han Sang-ah over the radio to move faster. On the other side of the hall, his partner groans from exhaustion while gripping her weapon tightly. Exhausted in battle, Han Sang-ah wonders how many days they've been fighting without a break. At that very moment, half of the young man's body rapidly freezes over from the intense cold. Noticing the delay, Chan Seok asks over the radio if his partner is still holding up. Breathing with great difficulty, the girl replies over the radio that she can still endure for now. Staring at his own frozen hand, the young man curses as he watches the frost spread. Looking up, Yu Chan-seok wonders if Han Sang-ah has already hit her limit. Gazing at the ceiling, the young warrior feels the ice engulfing half of his frozen body. At that instant, the ice creature lets out a violent screech, celebrating its clear upper hand. Right after, a devastating explosion hits the floor, scattering shards all across the hall. From the sheer force of the impact, a dense cloud of ice dust covers the entire surrounding area. Amidst the rubble, Chan Seok remains standing, holding his spear with absolute resolve. Watching the warrior, the monster smiles mockingly, while keeping its magic defense fully active. With a fixed glare, the young man states that it just makes him want to erase it immediately. Then, Chan Seok recalls spending 20 long years surviving on a brutal battlefield. Hearing his declaration, the creature is taken aback as he promises he will never be defeated. Looking straight ahead, the young man hits his radio and asks Han Sang-ah if she can hear him. Over the comms, he orders her to use everything she's got to take down the giant slime. Right away, the girl warns over the radio that doing so will destroy the only thing keeping him warm. Without flinching, he shoots back through the communicator that they'll die anyway if they keep this up. With a slight smirk, she asks if he prefers to die slowly or end it all right now. Then, the young woman unleashes her magical energy, gearing up to strike the giant monster. With that, a massive electric shockwave surges rapidly throughout the palace hall. Under the immense force of the attack, the metal chains binding the creature snap completely. Focusing his energy in the darkness, the warrior prepares to deliver the final blow. Wreathed in intense electrical arcs, the boy firmly declares he'd rather end this battle quickly. With total focus in his eyes, the young man charges at breakneck speed straight at his opponent. Right after, a colossal beam of energy strikes the ground, completely disintegrating the threat. Simultaneously, the temperature gauge violently explodes from the extreme surge of heat. Facing the unbearable heat, Yu Chan-seok fights with all his might to keep pushing forward. Feeling the overwhelming heat, the ice entity grumbles that it hurts unbearably. Clenching his fist tightly, the young warrior thinks that the strategy seems to be working. Leaning on his spear, young Yu Chan-seok smirks, claiming he made the absolute right call. Exhausted, Han Sang-ah says she'll take over the fight from here, praising the boy. Then, the boy sighs in relief, seeing that the hardest part was over. Watching the creature, he notices its magic resistance has been burned away, opening it up for attacks. With that, Yu Chan-seok declares that without that armor, it's just the two of them left in this fight. At those words, the ice monster lets out a furious roar as it stares down its opponent. Then, the entity scoffs and laughs mockingly, showing it still has plenty of strength left to battle. Smirking tauntingly, the boy warns that whoever tires out first will end up dying in this fight. With an overwhelming clash, energy violently explodes, scattering debris all across the structure. At that moment, the massive shockwave expands, completely destroying the frozen hall. Charging forward with speed, Yu Chan-seok thinks that only someone who saved the world would know the right move to make. With his gaze completely focused, the boy calculates the exact trajectory of his next attack. Then, the deadly strike lurches forward at high speed, slicing directly toward the frozen threat. Seeing the ice spikes advancing, the young warrior realizes that impact would be completely fatal. Then, the ice creature stares down the advance, keeping its eyes locked on the battle. With that, a devastating impact destroys the structure, scattering chunks of ice all over the place. Leaping with great agility, Chan-seok delivers a precise slash as he crosses the opponent's path. With the violent strike, the attack's energy cuts through the air, cleaving the rival's defense. Blown back by the force of that charge, the creature spins in midair, recoiling violently. Feeling the heavy impact, the entity tries to defend itself by covering its face with its arms. Leaping from above, the boy warns that he can't afford to leave any openings. As the structure cracks, the rival's eyes widen in surprise at the sheer force of the blow. Then, a rapid sequence of attacks slices through the air with extreme speed and power. Suddenly, Yu Chan-seok notices with surprise that his own body has ended up completely frozen. Looking down, the warrior wonders in confusion why he can't move. Even while frozen stiff, the boy leaps high above the rubble, spear in hand. At that exact moment, Chan-seok's eyes widen as he spots a new threat emerging in the battle. Meanwhile, the scene shifts directly to Lee Se-yoon's main headquarters in the city. In the spacious hall, the commander sits silently on the couch, staring pensively at the floor. While waiting for updates, Lee Se-yoon quietly reflects on the progress of that dangerous mission. Suddenly, knocks on the door catch her attention as an employee calls out to her from outside. Without hesitation, the woman immediately grants entry to hear what he has to say. Upon entering, the assistant reports that the lack of news indicates the group is still alive. In response, Lee Se-yoon points out that it's a difficult core, making the elapsed time completely acceptable. Worried, the assistant counters, warning that her concern stems from the commander's own reputation. She reminds her that everyone came because they trust her, and a failure will ruin her standing. Faced with this warning, the leader remains silent as she listens to her arguments. Thanking her for the concern, the commander reassures her subordinate, stating that everything will turn out fine in the end. With a firm gaze, Lee Se-yoon asks that if they trust her, they should trust the hunters as well. Furthermore, she points out that the core's lock proves Yu Chan-seok is still alive. The commander adds that the delay simply means the warrior is fighting in his own way. She considers that the battle could take over a month to finish. With a confident look, she concludes that this will only increase their chances of victory. Faced with the attack, the ice creature grinds its teeth furiously as its body cracks. From above, the young warrior leaps down holding his spear, staring intently at the massive threat. Watching him advance, the entity looks up sharply, trying to predict the incoming strike. Wasting no time, the young man lunges with precision to hit his opponent's weak spot. Startled by the swift maneuver, the creature's eyes widen as it realizes his intent. With a devastating strike, the spear cuts down vertically, cleaving the ice monster in two. Reeling from the heavy impact, Chan Seok wonders if the enemy can survive a blow like that. Right after, the spear soars high into the sky, with the warrior following close behind. The narration notes that when wielding a weapon, performance matters, but there is something far greater. As the weapon spins through the air, a massive wave of energy radiates outward, destroying everything. The lesson goes on to emphasize that the true skill of the wielder is what truly matters. At extreme speed, the blade spins through the air, pulverizing the final obstacles in its path. Leaping with incredible agility, Chan Seok catches the spear mid-air and adjusts his posture. Gripping the hilt tightly, the weapon channels all its built-up power directly into the blade. Finally, a crushing blow slams into the ground, triggering a massive explosion of pure energy. Meanwhile, Commander Lee Si-eun sits on her bed, anxiously awaiting news from the dangerous mission. Suddenly, the small communicator on the table beeps, confirming their victory. Hearing the call, she grabs the radio, asking in disbelief if it's really Yu Chan Seok. On the other end, the young man asks for a helicopter, claiming he can't make the walk back on his own. At the press conference, journalists react in shock, unable to believe the young man's declaration. Given the news, the press questions his promise to clear all the cores with such a small team. At the podium, Yu Chan Seok acknowledges the hunter's hard work, but stresses that the rifts must be closed. He explains that with his abilities and the right support, this daunting mission is entirely possible. Recalling his allies' dedication, he reiterates that this goal is far from impossible. With a determined look, Yu Chan Seok announces to everyone that he will save this world once again. Right after wrapping up the press conference, the large doors of the hall swing open into the hallway. Walking through, the young man complains that the reporters wasted too much of his time with questions. When approached by a man, Yu Chan Seok flatly declines giving any exclusive interviews. The man reveals he's from the KY group and asks them both to follow him without question. Surprised to hear that name, Han Sang-ah realizes the order came directly from her grandfather. Confirming her suspicion, the man informs them that Chairman Han Sang-cheol wishes to meet them right now. Amidst the nightclub lights, a crowd dances energetically as the music echoes. Guided by local security guards, the young man and his companion walk silently down the elegant hallway. As the doors open, Chan Seok remarks on how bizarre the place looks. At that moment, the old chairman rests his hand on his cane and welcomes everyone. Comfortably seated on the couch, the old man warmly asks the guests if their trip went smoothly. Observing the visitor with her glass in hand, Han Soo-hui comments on how handsome the young man is. Annoyed by the comment, Han Hun scolds his relative, telling her to watch her mouth right there. Hearing that, Chan Seok asks about their relation and who the old man sitting in the center is. Introducing himself formally, old Han Sang-cheol states that he has heard a lot about the warrior. Then, the chairman invites the visitors to sit down and relax after their long trip. As everyone settles into the lounge, the atmosphere in the room remains quite tense. With a touch of irony, Yu Chan Seok comments on the women surrounding the chairman in the room. In response, the old man explains that youth cannot be bought, so he keeps them around as decoration. Changing the subject, Sang Cheol asks if the young man was serious during his recent press conference. The young man replies that he didn't lie, only to be told that press conferences are full of lies. With a subtle smile, Yu Chan Seok responds that it all depends on the speaker's own attitude. Hearing the response, the old man murmurs that he is even ruder than expected. Without hesitation, the kid fires back that he doesn't need to bow down, even to a powerful chairman like him. With his eyes closed, Sang Cheol warns him that he seems to never want to set foot in Korea again. Smirking, the young man says he understands the provocation, since the old man has a lot to lose there. Furthermore, the kid questions why he is putting so much pressure on a rookie without even giving a reason. Shifting his tone, the old man immediately orders all the girls to be removed from the meeting room. As the women leave, Sang Cheol explains that hiring hunters from the association creates a conflict of interest. Listening to the explanation, Yu Chan Seok asks if he intends to create an in-house hunter organization. The chairman reveals that the supervision team will protect facilities and transport company assets. Then, the old man proposes that the kid and Han Sang-ah lead this new, massive team. Irritated, Yu Chan Seok sarcastically points out that the offer asks him to break his recent promise. Faced with that absurd proposal, Han Sang-ah calls out to her grandfather, her hands clenched on her lap. Recalling a painful past, the girl asks if they are going to give up on the guild located in Israel. Faced with his granddaughter's memory, Old Sang Cheol closes his eyes in complete and absolute silence. Then, the old man advises the young woman not to let herself be completely consumed by revenge. Hearing that, the girl replies that she made a promise the moment she picked up her sword. With a steady glare, the young woman declares she will cut down anyone, even if they are family. At that declaration, the other female hunter quickly stands up and shouts her name out loud. With that, the young man states he understands her stance and officially rejects the entire proposal. Snapping his fingers, the chairman says he regrets it, but claims that refusal was never an option. As the guards appear, the kid listens to the old man asking if he even knows how he reached the top. Sang Cheol then reveals he attained his position by destroying everyone who didn't stand by his side. Glancing at the guards, the kid asks if the old man really expects to defeat him using only them. Noticing the shift, the man asks how the kid can harness the surrounding energy. Raising his finger, Sang Cheol explains that he controls all the energy and would never come unprepared. The old man gives him one last chance, asking if the kid will submit to him. With a cold look, the chairman asks if he would rather leave the place as a corpse. Faced with that direct threat, Yu Chan-seok simply smiles in silence while adjusting his collar. Staring at the mocking reaction, the old man sternly warns that his patience is running out. Suddenly, the old chairman's eyes widen as he senses a surge of intense, freezing energy. Showing off his glowing ring, Yu Chan-seok smiles and says he didn't come unprepared either. Looking closely, the young girl asks if that was the reward obtained from the core. In response, the young man confirms he received a spell-resistant coat and a ring. He then explains that the magical item is called the Ring of Domination. Furthermore, the power of this object freezes any enemy unable to resist its force. The artifact consumes no mana, instantly freezing the entire room and the guards around them. Trapped in the ice, the old chairman shivers as he realizes the sheer scale of that power. As the old man rants, Yu Chan-seok wonders why rich people always act like this. Taking a firm step forward, the young man walks right up to his rival and calls him out directly. Leaning over the old man, Chan-seok declares that power, wealth, age, and manners mean nothing now. Trembling violently, the old chairman stammers, asking what the kid actually wants from him. With a cold gaze, the young man simply repeats the question of what he wants. Shortly after, a sleek black car speeds down the illuminated road into the night. Inside the vehicle, Lee Si-yoon warns that the young man has been making a lot of powerful enemies lately. Looking at her phone, the girl remarks in surprise that she received a message about elixirs from her grandfather. Smirking at that, the young man replies that he's actually telling them to come pick them up in person. From a distance, old Sang Cheol remarks that the young man really knows how to land profitable deals. Then, the girl asks why he's sponsoring him, only to be questioned about the business world herself. Answering her question, Sang Cheol states that ambition is the most important quality of all. The chairman then concludes, stating that the young man possesses the greatest ambition he's ever seen. Shortly after, a massive crowd gathers in a spacious hall to attend an event. Looking over the gathered crowd, the man at the venue asks if everyone has arrived. Then, Yu Chan-seok and Han Sang-ah step forward, walking side by side through the venue. With a focused gaze, the young man declares that they are about to begin the selection of new members. Standing before the packed arena, the young man announces the start of selection for new official members. Looking out at the crowd, Yu Chan-seok asks who wants to step up first. At his question, the hunters in the arena watch in silence, waiting for their chance to fight. With a firm gaze, the young man declares with conviction that he will definitely save this world. Yu Chan-seok then invites skilled hunters to join the tournament and fight by their side. Adding to the speech, Han Sang-ah declares that her ultimate goal is to eliminate the Big Eight. Staring intently, the young man adds that this goal includes destroying even the Shaddai Club. Walking through the arena, a man comments that he enjoyed the press conference and praises the impressive speech. Approaching the young man, the candidate says he heard the call to deal with dangerous cores. The man offers to join, citing his experience, but Chan-seok cuts him off with an apology. Without giving it much thought, the young warrior flatly states that the candidate doesn't meet the requirements. Shocked by the unexpected rejection, the candidate stammers indignantly, unable to hide his utter disbelief. Furious at the response, the guy yells, asking who the kid thinks he is to act like that. Ignoring the angry shouts, the young warrior slowly turns around to face his opponent. With a dead serious look, Chan-seok watches the man without showing a single trace of fear. The open-air arena remains buzzing with energy as the hunters prepare for battle. Without hesitation, the young warrior steps firmly into the arena, ready for the first match. After taking a hit to the head, The opponent grumbles that he'll have to make a serious complaint to the president. Calmly adjusting his blade, the young man watches the movement around the arena. Gripping his spear, Yu Chan-seok tells them to come at him one by one to start the tournament. 8 hours into the tournament, powerful impacts continue to echo endlessly throughout the arena. With extreme speed, the young man lands a direct blow on another opponent's chest. From the force of the strike, the rival stumbles back before crashing violently into the dust. Stuck upside down in the rubble, the defeated fighter mutters softly, accepting his total defeat right there. Praising their good effort, Yu Chan-seok calls for the next contender after taking down over 200 fighters. Silently scanning the arena, the young man thinks with disappointment that none of these candidates are useful. He then reflects that simply using his ring was enough to freeze all the weaklings. Scratching his head, the young man wonders if he was being too greedy, hoping to find someone fast. Meanwhile, the crowd of participants parts ways to make room for a mysterious figure. Noticing the unusual approach, Yu Chan-seok turns around, thoroughly intrigued by the new competitor. Calmly introducing himself, the hunter identifies as Jong Oh-hoon and wishes for a good partnership. Hearing the introduction, Yu Chan-seok simply smiles and invites his opponent to step forward immediately. Accepting the invitation, the opponent smiles and warns that he's about to launch his attack. Leaping swiftly into the air, the marksman fires a powerful shot straight at his opponent. As the shot is fired, the spent shell ejects rapidly from his weapon. Adjusting his aim, the shooter tracks the movement to fire his next round. Meanwhile, the metal casing falls rapidly through the air, surrounded by tiny, bright sparks. Instantly, the beam from the shot cuts across the arena straight toward Yu Chan-seok. Watching the incoming projectiles, the young man keeps his eyes completely focused and calm. Concentrating his magic power, Chan-seok precisely analyzes the exact trajectory of his rival's attack. Using his skill, the young man neutralizes the rotational force of the incoming bullets. With quick strikes of his weapon, the warrior effortlessly deflects every single bullet. Seeing his shots deflected so easily, the opponent is utterly stunned by the impressive display. Wasting no time, Yu Chan-seok rushes forward, digging his feet into the arena floor. Leaping high into the air, the young warrior looms over the marksman, preparing a decisive direct blow. With a thunderous impact, Chan-seok's strike hits the ground, causing a devastating explosion. Immediately after, a thick curtain of smoke covers the entire arena, hiding the result. Emerging from the dust, the young man is surprised by what he sees and asks what that was. Looking up, the young warrior remarks that he's never seen anyone fly using a gun before. Yu Chan-seok then stares at his rival and asks if he used mana to float like that. With a tense smile, the shooter replies that he actually has a few tricks up his sleeve. Gazing up at the clear sky, the rival suggests they keep fighting without stopping. With that, an intense clash of magic shots and spear strikes continues to unfold in the arena. After 30 minutes of combat, the marksman emerges gasping for air, weapon still in hand. Impressioned, Jong Oh-hoon admits he hoped to land at least one shot if he got lucky. Hearing this, Chan-seok calmly replies that it didn't seem like an impossible feat for him. Shaking his head, the opponent denies it, stating that a guy like him doesn't have that kind of skill. Faced with this statement, the young warrior just stares at him in total silence, analyzing the situation. Smirking, Jong Oh-hoon points out that the young man's weapon doesn't seem suited for close-range combat. Planting his spear into the arena floor, Chan-seok lets him know that he'll still give him a fair chance. The young man then tells the marksman to prepare a real shot, as he's quite curious to see it. Surprised, Jong Oh-hoon asks if he can really do that, warning that even a graze will hurt. With a slight smile, the boy counters that ending the fight like this would be a shame. Hearing that response, the opponent simply nods while tightening his grip on his weapon. As the magic energy surges, the shooter reminds Yu Chan-seok that he warned him about the danger. Taking careful aim, the marksman warns that this powerful shot will take some time to charge up. He then adds that it's going to hurt badly if that massive attack hits the boy head-on. Taking careful aim with his weapon, Jong Oh-hoon warns that the powerful shot will deal massive damage. Hearing the warning, the young man retorts that the gun doesn't hurt, getting hit does. Next, his rival's weapon gathers an immense amount of magic energy for the shot. With that, the marksman fires a colossal beam of energy that lights up the entire massive arena. Watching the beam come from above, Yu Chan-seok raises his spear to block the onslaught. Feeling the intense vibration through his guard, the young man feels as if his hand is tearing apart. With a violent clash between their weapons, the opponent's blade is hurled high into the air. Amidst the explosion, Dozens of energy beams ricochet wildly all across the arena. Impressed by his skill, Jung Oh-hoon praises the young man's foresight in defending against every attack. Retreating with great agility, the youth leaps while dodging another attack coming from below. Parrying the blows, Yoo Chan-seok notices that the lightning-fast blades are constantly shifting trajectories in midair. He then realizes that trying to dodge would only let the attacks pierce right through him. On top of the flying blades, the warrior must dodge sudden precision sniper shots. At that moment, one of the sharp blades shoots straight up into the open sky of the grand arena. Meanwhile, Yoo Chan-seok stays sharp as a storm of attacks engulfs the entire arena. Smirking with confidence, the marksman adjusts his stance, preparing another offensive maneuver. Observing the boy's reaction, his rival admits in surprise that he is a formidable warrior. Wasting no time, Yoo Chan-seok leaps high into the air, readying his spear for the final strike. As he leaps, glowing waves of energy slash through the entire arena in a devastating assault. Locking his eyes on his opponent, the young man gathers all his strength to end this once and for all. With a crushing impact, the weapon hits the ground, causing a massive explosion of debris. Right after, a thick curtain of smoke spreads out, covering the entire battlefield. Emerging from the fog, the marksman looks around, trying to quickly pinpoint his opponent's location. Suddenly, a fast shadow cuts through the smoke, appearing right behind the stunned rival. Diving through the air, the young warrior swoops down at breakneck speed to deliver a direct hit. Grabbing his rival by the face, Yoo Chan-seok firmly declares that the time has come. With a cold glare, the young warrior states he will end the fight right then and there. In one swift motion, he slams his opponent violently directly into the hard ground. As the smoke settles, tranquility slowly begins to return to the entire arena. Kneeling and utterly exhausted, Jung Oh-hoon leans on his weapon, accepting the final outcome. Wiping the dust off his face, Yoo Chan-seok sighs and admits that it was a tough fight. At the same time, the marksman acknowledges his defeat, calling his rival an absolute monster. Surprised by the unexpected compliment, the young warrior just stares at him in complete silence, utterly confused. Noticing his rival's bewildered reaction, Jung Oh-hoon asks why he's staring like that. In response, Chan-seok directly asks him why he stopped his attacks. The young man adds that, with that same power output, his opponent could have fired 3 more times. Pointing out his rival's weapon, Chan-seok notes that it was still fully charged with magic energy. Surprised by the sharp analysis, the shooter asks if the kid was planning a surprise attack right then. Faced with such a direct question, Jung Oh-hoon simply lowers his head, remaining lost in thought. Offering some advice, the young man explains that surprise attacks depend on timing, not the angle. Hearing this valuable advice, the sniper lets out a genuine smile, recognizing the kid's wisdom. Chuckling in resignation, Oh-hoon openly admits that he really can't defeat the young warrior. He then asks for permission to speak casually, and the young man agrees with no problem. Extending an open hand, the marksman makes a friendly gesture to seal this new alliance. Bringing up the dangerous core, Oh-hoon claims that a team put together by him will make anything possible. With that, the two warriors shake hands, officially sealing their new battle alliance. With a fixed gaze, Chan-seok states that completing their objective is an absolute requirement. Looking down at the arena, the young man silently concludes that he has finally found someone truly useful. Analyzing the situation, the warrior considers that Jung Oh-hoon possesses the exact strength they need. He then explains that their entire current team only operates in close-quarters combat. His rival, on the other hand, provides long-range support, acting as the final piece of the puzzle. Suddenly, the sniper calmly warns him that there's a very important detail the kid needs to know. With a grin, his opponent openly reveals that he's willing to do absolutely anything for money. Laughing, Oh-hoon mentions his peculiar nickname, and the young man replies that it's quite a memorable one. The man then honestly warns him that he might abandon the group if a better offer comes along. Hearing that declaration, Yoo Chan-seok curiously asks why he's being so upfront about it. In response, the marksman explains he's giving advance warning to avoid any future complaints. Right at that moment, Chan-seok's hand snaps shut, snatching the flying blade out of the air. Staring intently at the captured weapon, the young warrior sarcastically asks if that's really how it is. With a provocative look, the young man smiles and asks if he truly accepts anything for money. Yoo Chan-seok then mentions that there are a few stray cats with kittens in the association's underground parking lot. Resting his blade, the young man states he'll pay him to kill them all, decapitate them, and bring back their heads. Faced with such a gruesome proposal, the kid asks if the sniper can really pull off a task like that. With an intimidating glare, Chan-seok questions if his rival is actually incapable of doing it. With a serious look, the young man says he will pay him to kill everyone and bring back their heads. Then, he asks if his rival can actually pull that off or if he's incapable of it. Faced with such an absurd proposal, the marksman remains completely silent, not giving the boy an answer. Smiling awkwardly, Jung Oh-hoon asks why he's being so serious about something so trivial. With a firm gaze, Yoo Chan-seok tells his rival to wait while he takes care of that task. Right then, the young man calls his opponent directly by name as he slowly walks away. Confused by his behavior, the man turns around and asks what he's talking about. In response, Chan-seok explains that someone who accepts anything would first ask how much they're getting paid. Looking at his opponent, the young man states he doesn't do everything for money. He's just desperate. Gripping his spear, Yoo Chan-seok adds that he isn't the least bit curious about the reason. Then, the young man declares that everyone in need has their reasons, but that changes nothing. With a cold glare, he warns his rival never to say he'll accept just anything again. Right after, the warrior's hand clenches tightly in the air, sealing his decision. Changing his tone, Yoo Chan-seok mentions that, either way, his opponent actually passed. The young man tells the marksman to show up at the training room tomorrow at 9, leaving him stunned. As he leaves, the youth mentions he'll train the marksman hard since his skills fall short. With a tense smile, Oh-hoon replies that he looks forward to working with Yoo Chan-seok. Afterward, the two companions walk down the long hallway together, talking about the recent evaluation. Looking to the side, Sang-ah comments that the new member's skills seem a bit lacking. Reassuring her, the young man replies that it's fine and they can get him up to speed. Teasing her partner, she asks if he's afraid his rival will catch up to him, quickly denying it. Feeling hungry, the girl asks to eat at the restaurant while the boy regrets even asking. Right at that moment, an elegant man approaches, asking for permission to speak with Yoo Chan-seok. Introducing himself politely, the man reveals he represents the main branch of the restaurant and asks for a moment. Impressed by the revelation, Sang-ah repeats the name, and the boy asks if she knows it. The girl explains that the famous establishment is frequently visited by hunters because of its food. Drooling over the dishes, the hunter praises the main branch and reveals her agency has sent offers for years. Nodding in agreement, the envoy reveals that the owner wants to meet Chan-seok in person. Hearing that, the young man and his companion are completely surprised, unable to understand the unexpected invitation. Following the invite, the scene shows the delicious traditional dishes prepared by the famous owner. Opening her mouth eagerly, the young woman gets ready to savor the delicious food served to them. Then, she quickly swallows the food, clearly amazed by the incredible flavor. Spoon in hand, Han Sang-ah enthusiastically exclaims that the meal is truly delicious. Wiping her hands on a cloth, the cook calmly asks if the food suited their taste. Then, Sa-sung-hee explains she prepared the soup assuming they would be starving. While the girl praises the dish, Yoo Chan-seok jokes that he thought the food was poisoned. Right after finishing their meal, the boy asks directly about the reason for their summons. Without hesitating, the establishment's owner hands over a folder, asking them to read the document. Opening the folder, the young warrior and his companion begin to carefully examine its entire contents. Impressed by what he sees, Yoo Chan-seok mutters in surprise as he recognizes the information logged there. Right away, the woman reveals it's about the erosion core located in Changchun, China. She then explains it's the dangerous Rank 1 erosion core known as Jiaonggok. The cook reveals that the restaurant only sponsors talented hunters willing to conquer that rift. The woman then adds that the file still exists for a very specific reason. Sa-sung-hee explains that after getting rich, hunters lost interest in risking their lives. Staring closely at the woman, Chan-seok asks if there's a special reason she keeps doing this. In response, the cook reveals she lost her husband and baby after a horrific attack. Lowering her gaze, Sa-sung-hee adds that the child passed before even getting to see the world. The woman declares she seeks revenge, and the young man agrees with the strength of that powerful drive. Understandingly, the cook considers how tough the decision is, and suggests they take all the time they need. Interrupting the conversation, Chan-seok accepts the mission, firmly stating he will clear the Jiaonggok core. Completely shocked, the woman asks if it's true, and mentions she'll need time to make preparations. The young man explains he recruited a new member and plans to train him before the difficult mission. Attentive, Sa-sung-hee watches the duo at the counter and says she understands the boy's concern. The cook then adds that she understands the hunters who just stall or vanish without a word. Slamming his hand on the table, Chan-seok assures her he will make one thing crystal clear. With a serious look, the warrior states that his goal is to eliminate every core on Earth. Promising complete dedication, Yoo Chan-seok declares he will prove his commitment by delivering great results. Meanwhile, a streamer starts his live broadcast, receiving donations while reading through the chat. Relaxed, The host thanks the donation and asks if everyone knows the famous kid being talked about. As a former hunter, the man claims it makes no sense for a rookie to clear that core. Furthermore, he mocks the promise to save the world, calling the whole situation highly suspicious. When asked who he was referring to, the host angrily replies that there's only one option. Pointing at the camera, the man challenges Yu Chan-seok directly, calling the youth a total fraud.